The landscape before you is, strangely to your eyes, appears almost as if it's in kind of a gray scale, a burnished shifting of blacks and whites. And as you stare at it, you look up at the sky, and it's almost as if the entire sky above is the sun. But it doesn't hurt your eyes as you look at it. You look back down, eyeing the tracks and turning your head to see the train as it approaches. The train that you know you are getting on. And suddenly, you're cold. It feels as if ice has frozen your very soul. You feel blocky and stuck in your movements. And suddenly, with a clarifying snap, a shift, everything looks normal again. The rolling plains before you, covered in weed and tumbling sagebrush. The train, burnished and old and dirty, kicking up steam and gravel and dirt as it rolls towards you. The people around you picking up their bags, placing them next to the bellhop at the end of the train's platform, and then moving back to be near you to board when the train stops. It finally does, rolling in with a and the doors open, revealing attendants waiting to take tickets, but nobody gets off. Carson Hart, you see all of this happening before you, your peacekeeper badge glittering in the sun. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Carson is just kind of seated, just kind of eerie cold, this almost lightless sun that shines but doesn't burn, even as he looks upon it. The strange train, everything. He's just kind of sitting, his arms crossed in his lap. He brings one hand up to like idly fiddle with the peacekeeper badge, kind of spinning the star a little bit before the backing catches on his jacket and sends it back into upright position. There's this kind of strange confusion in his mind, this like simultaneous understanding yet not knowing what's happening, this feeling that he should be here and that he should get on this train and that's why he's here, but nothing else about it being familiar. He's kind of trying to like puzzle it over in his own mind, trying to recall at information that doesn't exist. But he just kind of sits there gruffly twiddling with the star, trying to figure out, recall something.
Yeah, as you kind of puzzle, thinking, it's like that tickling feeling when there's something that you know you should remember, like somebody's name, but it just doesn't come to you. Like it's on the tip of your tongue. It's tickling your lips briefly like a feather, but you can't remember. You don't even remember how you got here or why. You just know that the ticket in your hand, frayed at the edges, kind of brown and old in your hand, in your coarse, calloused hand. Uh, it feels like that's where it's supposed to be in a weird way. Like the handle of your gun that you've held so many times that it's just comfortable there now. And as you look and the line starts to form, you start stepping up to join them. Reverend John, you're standing there looking at the sky, and it changes back to normal blue rather than that monochromatic white. And you look down at this train and you see these attendants taking tickets and kind of ripping them at the edge to show that they've been used. And this coldness that you felt briefly before it disappears. leaving you feeling normal, strangely, like the snap of a finger. It's gone. What do you do as these lines start to form and people act like they haven't seen anything? They just move right up to the train like nothing's happened.
He looks over the people that are gathered, noticing that nobody's actually getting off this train, and a few people just acting just like total normal, and getting on. And he's searching the crowd just to connect with someone that feels or has experienced what he just has, which he hasn't felt before. And his stomach knots as he leans down and he takes his coat and chucks it over his shoulder and takes up his a bag, and he starts moving towards stepping on, and he stops for a moment. It takes one last look, seeing if he can find anyone that's in any way hesitant, and if he doesn't, he just steps onto the train.
Yeah, the man standing before you kind of takes your ticket from you, rips it, and then looks up at you with a smile. And as you look at him, his face is familiar. Who is this person? Somebody you knew a very long time ago. Somebody you haven't seen in years.
Yeah, this is we're now in well, I'm thinking, how the heck did I get it? But I'm hoping his mind is like scrambling fast. I'm hoping I'm in Nassau, one of the sons, the central sun in Providence. And first of all, am I in Nassau? Am I in that?
You're not entirely sure. I mean, everything after
Absolutely.
living in Providence for so long, it all kind of looks the same. You don't see any mountains, so you're pretty sure not to the north, and you don't see the sea, so you know you're not in the west. But you're not really entirely sure. Like things aren't clicking. Like you said, you can't figure out how you got here. You just know that you're here, and
Absolutely.
as you're thinking about it, you get this terrible headache. By the way, just brain splitting, like a migraine. That just it hits you in the front of your head and just like sits there like a rock before disappearing all of a sudden at once too.
Okay.
Just as quick as the cold.
Absolutely. There's two things I've got to say. Really sorry. One is it now comes to him after this pain he has in his head. It comes to him that this was, or it seems like somebody that he knew from South, which is where he actually grew up, and but he still can't get the name, and so he smiles back at the person, looking in his eyes, and just as he takes the ticket, he exhales, and as he exhales, it just for a moment, he almost like senses, just from a distance between himself and like 100 feet. If there's like almost like a warm feeling, what he's searching for, and if there's not, he'll just get on the train. And what he's doing is he's detecting if there's any, from 100 feet, if there's any other people like he is, actually.
Yeah, you're standing there looking at this individual, trying to kind of pull this this feeling, and you've done this hundreds of times before. You know exactly what you're looking for, and as you reach out, kind of like trying to sense this feeling, you actually do sense this, but it's not the sense you're feeling. It tastes it's actually a taste in your mouth almost, and it's not kind of the ashen kind of gritty taste you're used to. Instead, it's kind of like rotten apples.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he just tips his hat and he moves past and steps onto the train.
Yeah, you step onto the train, passing this man, this person, a young teenager actually is what he looks like, and he would kind of smile and hand you your ticket back, obviously not recognizing you either, as you kind of step onto the train. Welsh, as you're kind of watching these people kind of moving onto the train, just one after the other, roll me a perception check. Crit, nice. You're kind of looking at the crowd, watching people, watching these doors, these ticket masters, kind of accepting them, these attendants accepting tickets and ripping them. And of all people, you see Aram Sykes, who steps onto the train after handing over his ticket that's ripped before him, smiling at the person in front of him, and then he continues onward out of your sight, into the train somewhere. What do you do?
Welch thumbs his stiff leather collar up over the side of his face. His shoulder-length hair slips down into like the neck V, and he'll move forward, putting his hands down into an overcoat pocket and pulling out his own ticket, and make for the carriage behind the one that Sykes got into, and he'll reach out to the porter. And not catch the kid's eye because his hat covers his eyes as he stands opposite this man. But he says, "Say, kid, don't I know you from somewhere?"
And you do actually know this person. You look at him and his face. It's somebody you knew a long time ago. He is about as old as you. Actually, he's not a kid. And as he looks at you, he's, Welsh, is that you?
How do you know me?
We used to spend. I mean, we used to be gambling partners, high stakes faro, at the Horse and Ford.
Yeah, I remember now. Hell of a time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even name the number of times we got into a close gamble. What are you doing here?
He shrugs and looks up the line and then down at business.
Oh, yes, of course. And they kind of look back at the line behind you and then look at you. Here, and he takes your ticket and kind of rips it. And which box are you in? I'll come look for you.
Hey, it's fine, friend. I want to take a load off.
Yeah, of course. If you want to talk, you can come look for me, I guess. And you know that this guy's name is Cole Jacobs. I mean, like I said, you knew each other a long time ago. It's been years.
Yeah, probably only comes to him now as he says, "Yeah, Jacobs. Yeah, Jacobs. I'll find you."
Yeah,
Say,
yeah, of course.
End up here working rail stubs.
Well, life's tough. You kind of just take what you're given. The water's running out, so you got to work.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? And I'll take the ticket from him and I'll nod and then lift the hat up to catch his eyes. Yeah, now I remember. Welch will think. And then he'll go and take a step up and then another onto the carriage.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of step up into the carriage. The next person stepping in behind you, filling the space, and you see that there are quite a few people kind of on this train, more than you think you'd usually see. But they're kind of separating out to the boxes. You look down at your ticket and you see that you're in car number 7. So you kind of entered in at number 5, so you have to go 2 back to find your seat. And as you kind of start making your way through the crowd, we're gonna fast forward a bit, moving through the day. As the train starts to move, you guys have all ended up in the same box, in the same car, actually in the same booth as well. You're kind of sitting there. What are you doing? What have you been doing in the short, maybe 30 or 40 minutes that the loading process took?
Welch would have tipped his hat down over his face and reclined back into the carriage seat and tried to rest and sleep. And then towards the end of like the 3/4 of an hour, he'll lean forward with like a and like break his knuckles from fingerless gloves between each other before reaching into an old pouch that has markings from the tribes on it and thumb out some tobacco and roll himself a cigarette and blow out a puff and then tip his hat back a little, look around to see the other folk on this table, on this carriage.
You would see Carson still like peacekeeper badge displayed prominently on his jacket. He'd have his revolver out. He's kind of looking it over. He's got like a rag that he's kind of wiping it down, cleaning, checking to make sure everything is in order. Just kind of running through like a preparedness, checking equipment, making sure that everything is clean, up to standard, functional, checking to make sure that everything is fit correctly on him, that his supplies are all within reach as he needs them. Kind of that lawman training kind of kicking in, that need to always over prepare in a certain sense, almost to the point where he's distracted from what's actually happening, counter to his actual goals. He would see you roll up a cigarette. He would just look over. You got any more where that came from? I'm all out.
Yeah, even as Welsh took out his cigarette, Reverend John just leant forward to light it. And as you say that, he opens up this tin and like offers you. You can see that there's like 2 more of these like pre-rolled. As he offers you to take that, and then he takes his case and puts it on his lap, and actually goes through the same thing. It's almost like ritual, but he sort of takes out these tinkering things, and he dismantles the revolver that he's got, and like it looks clean already, but he like meticulously like cleans through this as he places the equipment back into the bag, puts it down, and holsters his revolver. Then leans down and takes out this leather-bound, really old, like kind of like holy scripture book, which he opens up, and you can see even as he like sort of flicking through it, half of it has been like sort of like shredded and like torn, almost like it's you'd imagine someone's like taken a what are they called? Has taken a knife to just carve up some of, but it's still there, but just like half of it's kind of shredded, and he still like sort of just flicks through it. His fingers just like tracing some of the words, some of the pages, flicking through.
Thanks, Reverend. He'll say as you light his cigarette before he strikes his own match, and he'll close his pouch, seeing that the deputy is well taken care of by the Reverend with his pre-rolls. And then he'll watch the 2 men like polishing and going over their weapons and such, and give like a, "You fellas are mighty twitchy. You expecting trouble?"
Carson will kind of like flick at the star badge on his lapel. Not looking for trouble, but if it breaks out, he just kind of shrugs. Never hurts to be ready in my line of work.
Ain't that the truth? What about you, preacher?
He sort of like sits back and he looks out the window as the train's like just going by. He says, "These are strange times." He says, "It's always good to be prepared." He says, where did you both come from?"
Further up the line.
And he looks towards the deputy, almost again trying to see if there's just a recognition of doubt in their eyes for a moment or not, and just like sits back.
Yeah, you would see it kind of like his eyes would move upwards towards the corner of the car, away from you as you ask. And it's hard to tell if he's hesitant because he doesn't know or because he doesn't want to give away information that's unnecessary. It's always dangerous, he'll say, to give out personal information like that. You know,
Of course.
not that I don't trust you all
Of
to
course.
lie.
He puts his hand inside his vest and he takes out this like old tin rum flask. It's the kind that, you know, that's made more up north, you know, in the smoke home kind of region. And he like uncorks it and he just like offers forward to the deputy and also to the to Walsh, to Carson and to Walsh. He says, "Oh, okay, as you wish."
Welsh will he'll hesitantly grab the flask, like almost like reach out for it, then stop, and then go and complete the process just before you're about to like take it back. Kind of your preacher, and he'll take like a slug on it, and like there goes his promise yesterday before he got drunk, that he'd take it easy, and the day before, and the taste just gives him more of a taste. But as he like, and then puts the flask like back at vertical, by the sound of the slosh, he knows there's not too much left, and doesn't want to hog it for the deputy. So gives us like a exhale of satisfaction and hands it around the triangle before taking the last parts of his cigarillo down to the stub, and they'll like twist it out with a thumb. And like the little tray at the rail at the side of his seat.
Yeah, Carson will take the bottle as it's passed, or flask. And he'll kind of give it a sniff before he drinks any of it. You can't tell if it's out of distrust or just to get a scent of it for the taste. It'll kind of twitch his head a little bit back and forth, and then just give an almost imperceptible shrug, as if, what does it matter anyways if this is bad? I'll take a drink of it. Thanks, and I'll like pass it back. Sadly, not too much left there for you.
He says,
Much
"It's
appreciated."
okay. I need to give up this," he says, and he just just coughs out a bit.
I can help ease your burden, preacher, and he'll reach out for the flask.
He smiles, he says, "I'm sure you can," he says. He passes the rest to you.
I couldn't take a man's last drop, and he'll just give the first smile. It's like a dark yellow smile, like an unkind smile.
Yeah, as you smile, kind of this crooked yellow grin, the door to your guys' booth kind of opens, and you'd see one of these porters, these ticket attendants, kind of leaning in. Gentlemen, the betweener is en route. We are making our way north. As I am sure you would like to know, the bar car is now available and open to all passengers if you'd like to go there. There is gambling available as well. If you would like to move between trains, just simply be careful, please, and tell one of the attendants of the car before you go between trains. This is for your safety, of course. And he kind of just smile and start to lean out of the booth.
Oh, gambling. There's a vice I'd love to have learned how to play. He says, and he shakes his head.
A sin not worth your trouble, preacher, he'll say and look out the window now.
So you can play?
I can lose.
It's a good game, he'll say, and then pause. If you like pissing away all your money, get nothing for it.
The deputy has the right of it.
So I suppose that's hardly different. He'll kind of gesture towards the flask and then put out what's left of his cigarette. Not too much different than any of this.
Either bar is tempting with the preacher's taste. What do you say, gentlemen?
Sounds good to me, he says as he takes his bag and he stands up trying to just like catch his balance on the train. He says looks towards the deputy first and then to looks towards Carlson first and then to Walsh and says, which way did he say it was?
Welch will point whichever way the bellboy indicated. If you don't mind me, fellas, gotta ease the snake. And he'll like step up and straighten his coat. I'll see you there.
Reverend John just like stumbles, rocking, just excuse me, making his way down the carriage towards where the gambling would be.
Yeah, Welch is going to go the opposite way to like wherever the privy or the amenities are to relieve himself, but try and go by way of carriage 5 and get eyes on Sykes internet like as he goes past and as he goes back.
Yeah, you can either make your way all the way to the back of the train, or you can be incredibly crude and brash and just stand in between cars and pee off the edge. Up to you, man.
Oh, it'd be pretty crude, wouldn't it, to go off the edge? I don't know what your setting. What would be culturally inappropriate?
Going off the edge for sure. Like if you stop between cars, but people do it. Like it's considered incredibly uncouth.
In that case, he'll walk to the edge of the carriage past Sykes's, pretend to relieve himself, and then move back. So he just sees where Sykes is from the back and then from the front, marking him.
Yeah, so you kind of make your way forward a little bit, kind of stopping between carriage 6 and 5. You stop there, kind of swaying between the two cars, kind of looking out into the distance towards kind of this rolling plain. And you kind of like lean back a little bit, glancing through the window. You would see, is it Sykes or Stikes? I can't remember.
Sykes, Eram Sykes.
You see Sykes kind of sitting at a booth. It's actually more of a table. This looks like to be some sort of like a social, like a gathering car of some kind, where just people can come and sit and talk. And he's kind of sitting at this table with a group of like a couple of other people. One appears to be a finely dressed gentleman. There's a woman who might be his wife, and kind of like a scuzzy looking man who kind of doesn't look all that different from you. I mean, he's kind of dirty, unkempt. His teeth are yellow when he smiles. But it's kind of weird that they're kind of sitting together at this table. But you see Sykes sitting in there, kind of talking with them and laughing as they're kind of passing around this decanter, sipping at it. They must have gotten it from the bar car.
He'll mark them in, and as he's walking past, he'll look to each of their like hips and ankles to see which of them bears weapons and of what sort, if any, and then make his way towards the bar to seek out the kindly preacher and the deputy.
Yeah, roll me a perception check as you're kind of making or investigation, whichever you prefer.
I'll take perception for sure, because I don't have anything in investigations. I have a negative intelligence. I got a 70 on the die, so 21.
Okay, you don't see a weapon on Sykes, which is kind of strange to you. Sykes is known to be a dangerous man, but he's not carrying a weapon apiece. So it's kind of odd to you, but I mean, he kind of is like, he's acting like you remember Sykes supposed to act. He's friendly, he's boisterous and loud. And this man sitting next to him, you see there's a bulge kind of inside of his coat. Not small enough to be a derringer, but just big enough that it might be a belly gun. these revolvers that they kind of saw the barrel off of. So he's kind of got one of these kind of tucked up inside of his coat, it looks like. And the older gentleman is just kind of carrying a light revolver at his waist. But they're kind of just sitting at this table, just chatting and sharing this decanter of alcohol. And as you're kind of like walking past, and a 21 perception, you would hear, you would see this kind of dirty ruffian, this man, kind of reaching around behind Sykes and kind of like almost pilfering from him. Well, he does pilfer from him. He pulls kind of like this like little pocket watch out of his waistcoat, and without him noticing, and just kind of slips into his own pocket.
Welch will stop at that and figure this is a good opportunity to get the measure of these come-to companions of Sykes, and so walks up to the group with like an easy smile on his face and like tips his hat up. And as he puts his hand back down to his hip after tipping his hat up, he'll pull out his Bowie knife and put it at the chin of the man who just robbed Sykes.
And the man immediately just goes still. You see him like freeze completely.
You keep
His
those
breathing
sticky
starts to slow.
fingers still, friend, he'll say, looking at the man. And at this point, do any of the others nearby draw their weapons or put their hands to their weapons? And how does Sykes react?
Yeah, Sykes is kind of like looking at you, like he doesn't understand what's going on, almost innocently. And the gentleman who's kind of sitting at the table with his wife with them, kind of starts. You see his hand twitch towards his revolver, like he doesn't know what's going on. But you see that there's kind of like this, like you've seen it 1,000 times when you've cornered a bounty. This animalistic urge that kind of comes over them to protect themselves. You see him kind of like his hand twitching towards his revolver.
Easy now. And I'll reach down slowly as if for the revolver, but really I reach into his pocket where I saw him put that pocket watch and slowly draw it out by the chain so that it comes up last with the time. And I'll swing it like a pendulum towards Sykes.
Yeah, Sykes looks at it confused, and then he looks at the man who is sitting with him. "Go, you bastard!" And he kind of leans over and just like punches him across the face, laying him out across the floor. Ugh. And he kind of reaches out and takes it from you, and he's, "Thank you, friend. I don't know. I just didn't even notice. When did it happen?" And he kind of like looks down, like, and he takes it and puts it on the inside of his waistcoat this time. A little bit easier to protect from pilfering hands.
You can never be too careful in these times, friend.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And he kind of like look at you. Do I know you?
Doubt it.
I could have. No, maybe not. I don't. Yeah, no. Sorry. I'm just a little strung up right now. And he kind of like starts to go to sit down, and you see as he sits down, because I assume you're still studying him, and with a 21, you can see it now as he sits. That tucked into his waistband, there's actually a medium revolver that is very well concealed.
I think nothing of it, friend. Maybe I'll catch up with you at the end of the line. Till then, keep an eye on your one eye on your cards and one on the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Maybe I could buy you a drink at the next town.
I'd like that. And then he'll like tip his hat and like nod to the other fellas around here, and then last to the lady, a bit more graciously, and then step back away from the gambling table and whatever else they do to coal the bastard, and make his way to seek out the deputy and the preacher.
Yeah, you see as you kind of step away that all three of the people are kind of staring at this man. Co is what he called him. He was kind of like looking at them from the floor, kind of rubbing his jaw, and he kind of just gives this like this shrug, like you know, thieves will be thieves type thing. But that doesn't seem to settle any of the individuals playing at the table. But you can make your way there, the rest of the way to the bar car, very easily. We're going to switch over to our other two people who have already made their way there. You step into the car, and as you kind of move in, you see that there's quite a few people here. Gambling's a vice for a reason. And as people are kind of, you see that there's a game of Pharaoh going on in the corner. You see that some poor sap has gotten himself into a game of 3-card Monte. You see that they've got a dice table. Everything that you could want out of a casino has been fit into this car, along with what appears to be a well-stocked bar. The barkeep is kind of like looks at you as you come in, gives you a warm smile, and kind of goes back to pouring a tumbler for somebody.
Carson will kind of take a moment to take in the such like extravagance and decadence and scum all managed to compact like an entire city's worth down into a single train car. Part of him marvels at it, and part of him is disgusted by it. If he was on duty right now, he would have a field day, but he's not. At least he doesn't think so. It's hard to say. But for the meantime, he'll approach up to the bar, take a couple coins out of his pouch, put it down into the bar. Whatever whiskey you got, 3 shots. One for me, one for this guy. He'll point to the Reverend, and then one for another friend.
The barkeep smiles at you and says, drinks are complimentary.
Yeah. And he'll kind of take the money back and kind of shake his head like he should have known that. Maybe he did know that, but for some reason.
No, this is completely unexpected because, like, only the ritziest establishments offer, like, complimentary drinks. So, like, the fact that, I mean, and this is a nice train car. Like, you look around, you see, like, beautiful wood paneling all over the walls. The floor is kind of this beautiful red kind of carpet interlaid with, like, these gold trimming. You see that the bar itself looks nicer than maybe any furniture you own in your own home. And so this guy, he kind of just smiles knowingly, kind of sliding the coins back to you. And you see him very expertly flip out 3 shot glasses and pour some whiskey.
Yeah, he'll pull the coins back into his pouch, kind of with this confused look of like, what? How much did I spend on this ticket? Like, he's just trying to figure out where he is and why he's afforded such luxury. But he won't question it. And he'll just slide one of the shot glasses towards him and kind of eye over towards the Reverend.
So, yeah, Reverend John takes the glass and like tilts it towards you as he puts his elbow against the side of the bar, looking at all the games that are being played. He says, "Imagine that. I thought nothing in life was free except for love," he said. And he smiles and he just sort of smells the whiskey as he just looks in the direction that we had come, looking for Welsh.
The barkeep would smile, kind of like leaning in and say, "Take my word for it, friend. Sometimes love will beat the hell out of you too." And he kind of like turns around and kind of pulls down some other drinks to go and take care of some other customers at the far end of the bar.
So Carson, do you have any recommendations for a virgin like myself at such games?
He'll kind of slide the shot glass towards himself and knock it back. Well, depends. How much do you like your money? How much do you want to burn away?
Let's see. And he points over to the table where there's like 3-card Monty, and then he looks over towards the game of Farron. Says, "I'm sure there can't be too hard a game to learn."
I'll point over towards the 3-card money. Well, considering that game is rigged, wouldn't recommend it. And he'll kind of point back towards the other table. And I bet everything in this wallet that those guys are cheating, card sharky right out of the game. I'd say that's a better bet than anyone you'll make at that table.
Okay, he starts making his way over there, and even as you were talking, as we were talking, since he actually got up from cleaning his light revolver, the only thing that's been like really ticking through his brain is, or one of the things is, there's still this taste, this aftertaste of like rotten apples that he's sensed definitely before, and also it keeps passing through his mind, just with the rivening, just the darkening of this sun, and he's thought for a while. He's thought for maybe the last year. It's kind of gone through his head that he's thought that this is some sort of a gateways that's been open over this last century, ever widening gate, and when he gets to the end of that thought, he stands in front of this card table, in front of the table with this game.
Which one did you go to? Did you go to 3-card Monte or Pharaoh?
Did you recommend the one that he recommended?
Roll me just a flat intelligence check, or history if you're good at history.
Yeah.
Carson's recommendation was not to do either because they're both going to cheat you. So we'll see what your decision will be your own.
Got it. He does. I got, let's see, it's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Okay. So what you've heard from other gamblers you've interacted with, 3-card Monte is never a winning game. You do not win a 3-card Monte. Now, when it comes to Pharaoh, there's a reason why they call it riding the tiger, because only a few people can actually ride the tiger. Either you're a cheater, and so you're not riding the tiger, you're walking along next to it, or you have to be amazing at the game to really win. There is, however, a game of what looks like poker in the corner, if you're interested in trying something a little bit more virginal.
Absolutely, but out of character, I have to say I have no idea how to play poker, but yes, he would go for something like that.
It's okay. I mean, the rules are pretty simple, but I haven't actually finished the gambling rules for this game, so it'll probably just be deciding whether or not you want to cheat and then rolling against other players. Luck die. Okay, so yeah, so you could approach the table. There'd be 3 men kind of sitting there playing. You see them dealing out the cards, and they kind of look up at you, and there's an empty seat, and they kind of like look at it like suggestively, like, "Are you sitting down? Are you joining the game?"
Bless you, he says. And he takes a seat, places his hat just on the side. So,
the one who's dealing kind of just like smiles. He's gonna roll an insight check against you to see if he can realize how new of a player you are.
Oh, I'm not even trying to do it. It's clear as day.
Yeah, he like looks at you. I mean, especially your introduction, because most people come in with some sort of bravado, like to show that, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna get your money. But you just come in with a hey, and he kind of just like looks at you, and just like smiles and nods, and looks at the other 2 players, and says, I'm assuming you know the rules of the game."
It's been a while. Maybe you might have to refresh it for me, he says.
A while. And he kind of just smiles. All right. And he kind of leans forward and he starts explaining the game to you. Like you're trying to get pairs. You're trying to make a royal flush. He explains like the different rules of like what this looks like, getting 2 pair and how that wins against 1 pair.
Oh yeah,
having 3 of a kind. Yeah.
Even as he's going, he interrupts him and says, "Yeah, of course, yeah, it's come back to me now." He says, "Yeah, deal me in." He says,
"Okay,
if you don't mind, I'll be playing for small stakes first, of course. Small stakes first."
Of course. You're rusty after all, I'm sure.
And he takes out his tin flask of rum, and he just like, "Would anybody like a little of this?"
And they look at the rum and they kind of like shrug, and they'd kind of like put it in the center of the table and kind of just be passing it around, filling their empty tumblers and glasses with it, taking sips. The dealer kind of starts dealing out the cards, and he sets up the game, gets everything ready, and you see him kind of like smile, and he slides a couple of chips into the center of the center of the table, raising the ante as he kind of deals in. They're making small talk as they're doing all of this, and he looks up at you, "Reverend, it's a good thing that we're not God-fearing men here, or we'd fear the wrath of God as we put you down, my friend." And he kind of is just smiling as he's kind of looking through his cards.
He smiles, and just so that you know roughly what would be happening for a while. He's just going to play. He's gonna hopefully just play small money, and he'll be folding, and like he's going to be losing for sure. But he's just like, Just for time. Just for time. What's up?
Yeah. Roll me a luck die at advantage. So a luck die. You didn't know what luck dice are in my setting. Like I use, right? D8s. So I use a D8 as a luck die. Lows are bad. Highs are good. I should have explained that before the game started.
So he gets. I rolled a 4.
Okay. That's the high number. Because you got advantage on it.
Okay, great. So let me go over time. Sorry, got 5.
Okay.
5 yeah.
Okay. You win the first hand. And they're looking at each other like incredulously. Roll me an insight check.
He gets. He gets 13.
Okay. Roll me an insight check from the bar, Carson.
Will do. Ooh. That is one of my good skills. My keen lawman eyes are trained for this sort of thing. 17.
Okay, so you see the person Long Island iced tea. You see as you're kind of watching, like he wins with a 2 pair, like a pair of 2s and a pair of 3s. But the person directly to his side had a straight, and he doesn't claim the win. You know that they're playing him to get him to up his ante. So they kind of like, he leans over and pats you on the back. He's like, yeah, good game, good game. They shuffle out the cards, and they start going again, and they up the ante this time.
Yeah, and he slaps his hand on the table and he looks back at Carlson. He says, "He's like, this is my game. This is easy. Okay. Let's see." He says, and he's like, "Oh, okay," and he ups it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. We're gonna switch to Welsh real quickly. The bar door opens from the opposite side, actually, of you guys. You expected Welsh to come from the back end, where the privies are, but he comes in from the opposite end, slipping into the bar. You would see him, Carson, because you're kind of watching at that angle, because it's kind of in the back corner next to the front end of the train. And as he kind of comes in, you see that he kind of what are you doing, Welsh?
Welch just walks towards the bar, which is, I imagine, is in the center, eyeing to left and right to see the different games of chance, looking to see if there's poker. But even if there is, he'll go to the bar first and order 4 small glasses of whiskey, and he'll reach in and pull out whatever the cost is. And like start thumbing through a few gold pieces to pay the bartender.
Yeah, the bartender put the hand on the bar.
Will, see this, and he'll like put his hand on you as you're counting the money and kind of push it down, and he'll just say, "It's your lucky day, or perhaps unlucky. Bar's open." And I'll take the shot that he had ordered for Welsh, but seeing Welsh already order his own 4, will slide it back towards himself, and drink it.
Yeah, Welsh just has the 1 for himself at the bar, and then with one hand picks up the other 3 to take to the table for each of them. But I guess they've got an abundance, but he just shrugs. And after he like takes a sip at the second one, sitting down next to Carson, he'll say, "Don't you think that's strange, deputy? Ain't nothing free in this life."
Certainly strange. He'll kind of like shake his head.
Maybe it's to get the easies or lick it up and lose their money at chance, and he'll point across to the beach and be like, "I can't believe I won again."
Yeah, Carson will just kind of shake his head. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these people who kind of like nod to some of the people, especially the more cheatery looking games happening, if they're just working here in the bar, acting like players, raking in money off of the drunks. He'll kind of gesture with his now empty shot glass over towards the Reverend.
My game's not here, so I won't be gambling, so I guess it is free liquor for me. And he'll drink his last one down and go, "Say, it might be of interest of a man like yourself to know. There's a thief on one of those carriages a little further back down the chain. Man by name of Coe. Came across him trying to steal a pocket watch off a fella. If I see him, I'll mark him down for you, deputy."
Yeah, we can catch him again and show him what for. And he'll kind of like look again, kind of like upwards in a way, like, am I even like on? Am I working right now? Like he's not exactly sure, but he'll just kind of shrug and go along with it. In the meantime, there's a show for you with the while you drink. Reverend's getting scammed, filling them up.
One of them tragedies, and you'll like lean back in the stool next to the deputy to watch.
Yeah, you lean back and you watch, and he just barely won another hand. He's like, you see him like turning back and look at you guys like, this isn't so hard. Like I'm winning money.
Now here's the thing. After he says that, and he looks back at the three that he's been playing with, and he says, "Listen, I really appreciate that. This was a nice refresher." And he takes his chips and he stands up and he goes back to the bar and he says as he approaches the two, he says to them, looking at the other two games, he says, "Which one do you think?" He says, the deputy suggested both are kind of the same. What do you think, Welsh?
I think a man ought to know when he should cash in his chips when he's ahead and cut his losses. You got something in your hand, Reverend, so I'd say don't take on any more games.
Looks at you sidelong and he says, wise words, he says. And he looks back over at the
Hell, unless there's poker.
He orders another a set of shots.
Yeah, they slide out in front of you.
I'm gonna, and Carson will stand up and walk over towards where this 3-card Monty game is happening. I think I might have a go, actually.
Okay. Yeah, you see this as you're kind of like approaching. You see that there's somebody playing right now. It is just this bumpkin-looking man. Definitely from the south, like very, very far south. You see that he's kind of wearing like these like super like common clothes. He's like got like overalls. His face is like super plain. Like he looks like he was born to be scammed. And he's like sitting there like looking at the cards. He does the 3-card Monty. The dealer's kind of doing his little chant. He's like, pick a card, flip it over. I swear, my friend, not trying to bend you over. As they're kind of flipping the cards back and forth. And the dolt kind of is like sitting there looking. And he reaches forward and taps a card. And they flip it over, and it's the Monty. And he kind of just smiles. Come on, dealer, you're making this game too easy. And he kind of leans forward and like pulls back some more money. As the dealer kind of just like is confused. He looks confused and starts like dealing the cards again. Roll me sleight of hand or no perception. Yeah, sleight of hand or perception. Carson, like to try and read the Monty.
I actually have expertise in sleight of hand.
Okay.
So I will not just proficiency, not expertise. That is still just a 10, 5 on the die.
Yeah, you kind of follow it. You're kind of able to follow it a little bit. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary. But as kind of the dealer is kind of like he stops and he's doing his little chant as he's moving the cards. This bumpkin kind of like looks at the cards and he leans forward, taps a card, and it's the Monty again. He wins more of the pot, and he's just smiling to himself now. And he kind of like just smiles at the dealer, kind of just like rocking back and forth. You could tell he's happy. And the Monty kind of like the dealer kind of gives him another look, like one more. And the bumpkin kind of just like shakes his head. It's like, nah, I know when to quit when I'm ahead. And he kind of picks up the chips and tosses them in his pocket. He's got a fat stack. And he kind of stands up and steps away.
Yeah, Carson will just kind of watch confused at the events. Like there's no more of a known losing game in the history of all like gambler tricks than 3-card Monty. That's like the one grift that any person who's not even a grifter knows how to do. And here he is like just throwing money away at this bumpkin. We'll kind of just approach the table. Everything all right over here? Seemed like you were having a tough run.
You see the dealer frowning. I don't know what it is. He read the cards perfectly. I don't. He kind of is like scratching his head, like he just doesn't get it.
You mean you I'll kind of flip over the 3 cards to look at them. You weren't cheating him?
And you see the Monty right there on the table.
Have you done this before? I get the feeling you haven't.
You could give it a try. I consider myself pretty good.
Sure, yeah. Let's have a go.
Okay. You sit down, and he says, bet is 10 chips.
Just kind of shrug and
Okay.
lay him down.
Yeah, so he go ahead and roll your perception and sleight of hand again to try and read him.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, much better. 18.
Yeah, you see him try to sleight of hand something, but he fumbles and drops the card in the wrong spot that he meant to. And he kind of sets the cards out and has them all ready, and he's like looking at you. You know exactly which card it is.
Yeah, I'll just immediately pull the card and flip it over and just like shrug and grab the chips and pull them.
And he frowns. And he looks up at you. 20 chips.
I'm going to slide all 3 cards over towards me on the table.
Uh-huh.
Says, how about I have a go? We'll make it 30.
And he kind of slowly nods, and he watches you do it. Go ahead. Roll me sleight of hand.
Alrighty, we're going to try it. Ooh, yeah, 24.
Okay, he nat ones. He chooses the wrong one and slides 30 chips over to you, and he frowns. Let me do this again. One more time, my turn. And he kind of takes the cards back, and he says, 50 chips.
I'll like look down at like the 40 that I've already accumulated and like see that it'd be a small loss even if I did lose. Like the money's not end all be all. I'll just kind of shrug. Have a go.
Okay. He starts doing it. Roll me perception or sleight of hand.
13 on the die, so 18.
Okay. You choose the wrong card. And he kind of like raises his fist triumphantly, takes 50 chips, and looks at you expectantly, like, again?
Yeah, I'll just kind of look confused. Like either he's pulling like the best con of all time and is like expertly kind of woven this entire narrative from start to finish, or he's like botched them and has now just managed to succeed like in the nick of time. Either way, he'll stand up from the table, just kind of put both of his hands up.
Okay.
Can't be throwing away too much too soon. It's gonna be a
And he
long
kind of
ride.
just kind of smile and nod. Understandable, lawman. And he lets you walk away. You see the bumpkin come walking over and sit down at the table again. And they kind of high five. And he starts playing the bumpkin again. And the bumpkin keeps winning chips from him until some poor sap sits down. He lets the sap win 2 times. And then he cons him out of like a little bit of like 20 chips over what he originally would have earned. So you guys are kind of sitting at the bar watching this as this kind of goes down. And you guys have been watching pretty closely, I'm sure, trying to see what will happen. And Reverend, something wet drips down your forehead.
He looks up first.
There's nothing on the ceiling.
And he wipes his forehead to look at what it is.
Yeah, your hand comes away coated in a thin bit of blood.
Okay, he looks back up to the ceiling. I mean, like using perception, still just calm, just like closes his fist over the blood and just like looks up to really try and see if it's coming from the roof or not.
Nothing.
Fuck. He looks towards Carson, who's just come back, and he just opens his hand like this to him and says, "Is this coming off me?" And then
Carson, you see nothing.
He'll just kind of look. How many shots you had there, Reverend? Feeling all right?
And as he looks back at his hand, is the blood still there? Like,
No, it's gone now.
and he smiles and he says, "Yeah, maybe a bit too many," he says.
Your head is suddenly bursting with pain, like your forehead. It feels as if somebody's hit you in the forehead with a sledgehammer. It almost rocks you off your heels. And as you gotta fall back against the bar, just like feeling this pain, throbbing, pulsing. It's almost coming from the center of your brain now. It disappears just as quickly again.
As he's trying to just brace it, he braces himself and he tries to upright himself again, just like trying to look as calm as possible, even though it's clear as day what's just happened. And have I ever had this before in the past? This sensation in any way?
I mean, maybe you've been hit in the head before by like something, but like never in the center of your brain. Like it feels what you imagine a bell must feel like when it's rung. Like that's what the inside of your head feels like, this reverberating.
Yeah. Okay. So what he does is yeah. So for the last time today, I mean, he can again do it a third time, but for the last time today, what he's going to do is again he just exhales as he just tries to push his senses out from 100 feet from where he is, and he wants to, and he's trying to pinpoint a specific direction if it's possible, or if it's or not at all.
You close your eyes, reaching out. And we're going to do a flashback right now with you. Suddenly you're standing on a mountainside. You've got a rifle in your hands. You're kind of making your way down the slope towards what appears to be a winding trail of smoke moving up into the sky. Why are you here?
There's been a bounty on the Colan brothers, two brothers that are basically just rustlers. They just but the strange thing about them was that supposedly at least 3 times they've gone into different farmsteads and basically spoken to the people that were there and just walked out of a whole heap of stuff, whole heap of like cattle and stuff, just like that, which is just so bizarre, you know.
Yeah, you're making your way down this hill. You see the farmstead kind of out there among the open plains, kind of just down to the very base of this mountain. You see they've kind of logged away all the trees surrounding this house, so it's very open, very clear. You see there are 2 men standing outside the door. They knock, and the door opens, and you see this kind of elderly man kind of looking out at them. And he looks at the cold and the snow on the ground, and he kind of like beckons them in, like, "Oh yeah, come on in." And you see from a distance. Roll me a perception check.
Absolutely. Because of the distance, it's like 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. He gets 10. Sorry, he gets 11.
Okay, yeah, you're not entirely sure. You're not completely sure, but you are pretty damn certain that these are the Colan brothers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Their build and like what they're wearing, what they're carrying, it just looks like them, and you're pretty sure this is them.
Yeah. And this was the last. Yeah, absolutely. So he basically sets up just where he is, finds a nice spot, as he takes off his sniper rifle, and he basically waits for them to come out, as you know that as they would. And basically, what happens is he places in he takes out the usual cartridge bullet that he would normally use, and he takes a silvered bullet which has got like inscriptions on it, and he places it inside, and he prepares another 2 just in case, because he knows he's gonna have to reload, and missing from this distance is not an option, you know. And he basically just waits.
Yeah, you wait for a while. Roll me a d8.
Okay, he gets an 8.
An 8. Okay, you wait for 8 hours in the cold, watching this house, until finally the door opens and one of the Coling brothers steps out. You see him kind of like stop in the cold, his feet in the snow, looking around. Takes a deep breath and kind of starts walking towards the field.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what had happened in this flashback situation is he had just waited for him, took aim, he shot, he hit the brother as the brother just went down to the ground. And then he went down the pathway into the house, because he knows he has to go back to the brother, but for now this is enough. And as he's making his way down, he's reloading, placing this have a silver bullet with inscription just inside. Makes his way to the door.
Yeah, you reach the door. You said you didn't shoot the other one, right? You just let him go out into the field?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So you reach the door, and you're kind of like stepping in. I mean, you approach the door. You see that it's kind of open a little bit. And as you approach, you hear a sound inside. It's a voice, a human voice, but there's a growl to it that sounds animalistic.
Would absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he steps in. He's prepared with his rifle, and actually he holds it tight to his chest as he just enters the room, prepared for what is about to happen.
Mm-hmm. And the door goes into a kitchen. And as you enter the room, you see there's a table with a couple chairs around it, and sitting at the table are 2 of the elderly man. And they both turn and look at you with surprise in their eyes. They're completely identical. And that is where we switch back to the bar car. So you're standing back in this car again, feeling at your forehead. Maybe I hit my head, something like maybe it's just a headache, a normal headache. And you've been thinking a lot, like you've been thinking about the riveting and on all of these things that you feel like you should, like that have been on your mind so constantly for the past years. And everything in front of you flashes. And you see outside, the ground is pure black. The sky is that sun again, the complete sun, the light shining down in a gray haze. And the bar car does not look nice. The bar car looks like a prison car. The walls are just this nasty, ugly, burnished iron. And these tables are actually just crates that people are sitting around. And suddenly you're back in the beautiful car again.
Yeah, the first thing can I roll spiritism? Is that possible? Because I think this is the other. that's the only thing that comes to his mind. The first thing that comes to his mind would be that, and he just wants to just be sure if we or I am in the other. Or
yeah, roll me a spiritism check, and we're gonna go ahead and switch over to Wells real quickly. You're standing there, kind of watching as the 3-card Monty's going down as he's coming back. As the bumpkin sits down, you're probably smiling to yourself. knowing that those two con men just ran an awesome game. I want you to roll me a perception check.
16 total.
Yeah, you're staring at this dealer, kind of smiling, like, oh man, he ran a good game. And you see over his heart, his shirt. It's kind of this like this dirty. It might have once been a beautiful white, but it's kind of like dirty and like stained now. You see there's little yellow spots on his armpits where he's been sweating. But you see over his heart on his white shirt, this blood starts to seep out, kind of dripping onto the shirt. The dealer doesn't seem to notice.
Welch will close his eyes or like squint and shake his head and look again, blinking. And if the blood's still seeping, he'll motion for the man to look.
Yeah, no, it's not there now. As you look, as you close your eyes, you kind of like take like 3 seconds to breathe, and you open your eyes. The blood isn't there, but instead, you feel this sharp pain in your neck. It almost feels as if you can't even really explain it, but it feels like this area around your neck has suddenly become tight, like clenching your fist or roping somebody and pulling them through the desert. That tightness that would be around their legs or around their neck. It hurt. It doesn't hurt, but it's constricting.
He'll like clench and unclench his jaw and like reach up, leaving the last drink like still half full and like rubbing at his neck, and go to the bartender and ask for a water.
Yeah, your neck feels incredibly tender, and as you kind of grab this water and kind of pull it up, and like I'm assuming you're looking for like your reflection in it or what?
No, to drink.
Oh yeah, okay.
He thinks he might have had like too much liquor with not enough food, and with like his recent experience before getting on the train, thinks it might be a good idea.
Yeah, you try to swallow this water, and it feels like your airway is just tight. And as you kind of pour this water in your mouth, you find it difficult to swallow, to drink, and it's getting tighter. And suddenly you're having a hard time breathing.
He'll like half stumble from the bar and like knock the glass of water to the ground to smash, and he'll like crunch over the glass like a drunk man, though he's not drunk, towards the door to try and reef it open and stand between the trains and try and get fresh air. So going from like that like piano music and gambling hall sound to like the outside trying to, well, like loosening the crevasse or like collars at his neck.
Yeah, you're pulling at the cravat at the collar, kind of like just ripping it open, trying to get a breath of air. And as you step out onto the swaying platform, kind of the two parts of the train kind of hitch together with this lock. They're separate to each other. You're standing there, your hand on the wall, like trying to breathe. And you look up and you see kind of the glass. So it would be the door, like the door that would go in. There's kind of this drape that's been placed over it, so you can see a reflection. And you see there's this burn, this red burn that's around your neck and getting tighter. And as you look at it, as you feel this burn, kind of like, we're going to flash back. And you're standing on a hill, looking down into a town. You see Sykes, or who you thought was Sykes at the time. And he's walking through the town. You've got your rifle in your hand. You could feel its cool weight in your palms, its comfortable weight. And you think about the drink you had that morning, how good it tasted, and how once you get this bounty, you'll be able to afford more of the good stuff. No more of the tarantula spit or the snake venom, the good stuff. And you're looking at him as he stops in front of the bank. You see him check into his waistcoat and prepare to step inside. What do you do?
Into the bank, did you say?
Yeah, he's about to step into the bank.
He'll wait.
Yeah, he stops, and you see him looking into the bank. You see a couple of people file out. He's kind of standing there just watching. You're not sure quite what he's doing, but he's fiddling with something. You see him reach inside of his waistcoat, and he pulls out something that catches the sunlight. Something metallic.
Welch will just wait with his rifle primed, thinking to gun down the man from a far distance while he's out the front of the bank after coming out with whatever he's hopefully like transacted, and that while people see to the the gunshot man and his funds, Welch can make his getaway unseen. So when the door opens and what he thinks Sykes sees step out, he'll just exhale while pulling the trigger, and the bullet flies like it has many times before and strike the man down.
The bullet takes him right in the temple. You see his head whip back as he falls backwards, dropping what looks like a small parcel of money. And he falls onto his back, hitting the ground. This metallic thing that he was fiddling with falls out of his hand, and you see that it's a pocket watch. And now you're back in the rail car. Or I guess standing outside of it as the wind whips past you. One hand on your hat, one hand on the door. The choking is gone.
He'll collect himself after a true breath of fresh air. He'll make his way back into the cart, find the others and say, that's enough for me today. It's too busy in here. I'm going to go back to the carriage. I might see you fellas there. Fixing to order some food, if it pleases you to join me, or bless my bread, Reverend, he'll say with a kind smile.
If it's okay, Tyler, when Welsh stumbled out, because he stumbled out like almost like he was like drunk, and from what I see, he hasn't drunk that much. Was I aware? Were myself and Carson, the deputy, aware when that was happening, or was that simultaneous while we was going through wars?
I think you would be aware. Welsh, it would be up to you on how obvious you made your distress.
Yeah, they would have seen him like he's had like a man who's had too much to drink. I guess we have had 5 shots pretty quick. So yeah, he probably doesn't look like he's afflicted or something. Certainly not as afflicted as he felt from whatever that was. He thinks it's just some like flashback or something, like not flashback, but like some affliction that he's had of late that he sort of remembers before stepping on the train. So maybe he's not as alarmed from it as one might think. Maybe it's like something he's like semi-familiar with.
Yeah, you can see, even though you've only been with the deputy and Reverend John just within this journey, yeah, you can see the look in the Reverend's eyes. There's concern in his look, in his eyes, and it isn't actually for you, But you see, there's definitely concern in his eyes, and he nods and he says, "Yeah, I'll be joining you. I'll be joining you there," he says, and he looks back towards Carson.
Yeah, Carson will just kind of like look confused between the two of you, having one just kind of like had this strange seemingly hallucination and then kind of rocking back, and then the other run suddenly out of the car and then back in, and he'll just kind of look quizzically between the two of you, like there's already been some weird stuff and now even this, but he'll just shake his head. Food, yeah, too much to drink. Food sounds good.
I'm fixing for a plate of dinner, so I'll order some to our cart. If you don't mind, there'll be a gentleman joining us.
Certainly.
With that, Welch will leave the gambling hall and make his way back to Sykes's carriage and seek him out.
Yeah, you make your way, back up towards, carriage number 5. And I'm actually one thing, Carson, first, as you're kind of like making your way, moving towards him. Making your way towards the carriage, moving back towards your seat, your booth. You get this strange strange sensation. And it's a sensation that you felt 1,000 times before, being a peacekeeper, being a man of the law, somebody that people look to. It's this feeling that you're being watched. And as you're kind of standing there, like sensing this, this urgency kind of comes over you. And you're looking down at these little shots of whiskey you've been taking, these tumbles. And as you're kind of looking down at them, kind of like them clinking together on the bar as they slide back and forth with the train, you remember suddenly you're sitting at a different bar. You have before you this the entire bottle of whiskey has been placed there, and you're just filling your own glass. And as you're kind of sitting there, kind of drinking, you remember you're feeling this almost like a sense of accomplishment. You've been told that you have gained the right to be promoted to a sheriff. And tomorrow you make your way north to Nassau. And as you're smiling down into your drinks, pride, overwhelming you, a man sits down next to you, a rival, somebody who you've been like trying to get this position from. You two have been racing for this position. The opening that has happened all the way up in the north in a place called Crow's Gulch. The sheriff there, Wayne, has proven himself to be an outlaw and left, so they need a new sheriff. And as you're looking down at your glass, this man sits down next to you. What's his name?
I think his name is Jack.
Okay. Jack would sit down next to you and smile. I can't believe that I didn't get it. You lucky dog.
Yeah, Carson will kind of like lean back, half sympathy in his eyes for this rival who he's bested, and half kind of pride over him at the same time. He'll just kind of like slap the table and like slide the bottle over to him. Put up a tough fight. It was hard, but someone's got to get it. One happened to be me. Whatever next one opens up, I'm sure you'll get it.
You would nod. I put my soul into getting that job. But yeah, you one-up me with that last catch. And he kind of pours himself a glass and takes a sip of it, kind of like what's that called? Kind of tisking at the taste and smiling before taking another sip. So what are you gonna do? I heard Crow's Gulch, pretty lawless place. You gonna turn it around? What do you think you're gonna do up there?
He'll slide the bottle back over to himself after Jack has taken his own glass. Don't beat yourself up about it too much. All this stuff, it's all a crapshoot. I got lucky. You'd have gotten lucky, you'd have got it. And he'll just kind of shake his head. It'll be a tough racket up there anyways. Probably. Maybe you're better off down here anyways. He'll just kind of shake his head.
Yeah.
Tough place.
Down here with all the superstitious bums, right? Yeah, better off down here. And he kind of just shakes his head and takes another sip.
Better than a bunch of lawless men wreaking havoc, busting everything up, always causing trouble.
Perhaps.
More work than a bunch of bums. Just have to hope we're cut out for it. And he says we, referring to just like himself, and then realizing how that must sound to him to like say we when he's the only one going, and just kind of like cringe lightly to himself, but then just kind of shrug like, well, whatever, and I'll take another sip.
Yeah. And he would look at you, and like in your rivalry, you kind of become friends a little bit. You kind of just like nod and say, well, you're still carrying around that crap shooter, and he looked down at your waist. I got you a little something, friend. and he kind of reach down, kind of into his side bag and pull out this beautiful wooden box and kind of set it down in front of you.
Yeah, I'll like take the bottle that's in front of me and like slide it across the table. The drink suddenly becoming much less interesting than it had been a couple minutes ago. And just kind of like look up at Jack with like this raised eyebrow, and then back down at the box. Kind of thumb at the edges of it a little bit, tapping on the side, drumming at it for a second before I'll flip the latches on it and open it.
And it's this beautiful heavy revolver. You see, it's got this mother of pearl grip that has intricately carved into it the sheriff's star. Additionally, beneath it is this nickname he's given you from forever ago called Shooter. It says Shooter carved in beneath it. And the gun barrel, the metal of this revolver is star steel. It is this priceless meteorite metal that everybody vies for to get their weapons made from. And it just glimmers beautifully in the light above you as you kind of pull it out like with a low whistle. It's the nicest weapon you've ever held.
He'll take this revolver kind of in his hand, turning it over, looking at just the immaculate construction of it, the finery of the materials, the perfection of the construction. And his eyes will like go wide in surprise, and he'll kind of bring it down and look up towards his rival Jack. Now, why the hell would you give something like this away to someone like me? And furthermore, how do you afford it? And he'll just kind of laugh and like set it down on the table.
And he just smiles and he just shrugs. He's like, I respect you, Sheriff. You beat me. And, you know, you're going to need it. The North's a dangerous place. He's like, he kind of just shrugs and says, I set something up outside if you want to go out and test it.
Well, it's not in my spirit to turn down a gift from a friend. And I'll kind of like pick up the gun with a smile on his face. But how about this? When you nab your position, your own sheriff spot in one of these places, I'll return the favor. And I'll kind of gesture the gun up towards him. And he'll kind of nod over to the door.
Yeah, he'd smile and nod. See, I appreciate that. And you two both get up to like head outside. You guys get out onto the porch. You see that he's kind of set up this line of like glass bottles on the far end of the road. There's kind of bars on the outside. The saloon's on the outside of town. It's late. Nobody's up. It's not going to bother anybody for you shooting these out. And he kind of just like frowns and kind of like pats around. He's like, oh, 1 second. And he runs back inside before coming back out a few moments later. All right. Show me what you got, Sheriff. Okay, we're going to swap back into the car again. Arlo, you've kind of been stumbling around the train trying to find your booth. You see that your ticket says 7 on it. And as you kind of make your way back to car number 7, into your booth number 3, you see that sitting there kind of hunched into the corner, kind of like in a thoughtful position, is this kind of gruff-looking man, Welch. You don't know his name, obviously. I'm just saying the Welch you're there. The door opens, and this man, what do you look like, Arlo, comes in.
He's clean shaven with steely eyes. He's wearing a tan hat and a gray kind of like outfit with a darker gray trench coat. Yeah, he looks like he's kind of like very wrinkly from the sun, like sun-beaten skin, like he's been outside all his life. And he just looks down at his ticket. Lucky number 7. And he kind of like lounges a bit. Has the food cart passed by yet? I'm parched.
Yeah. Hey, friends, come in. Food cart's about. I'm sure you could order some fare. This is 7, all right. Though not everyone's here. Welch, and he'll extend a hand.
Faraday. Shakes your hand.
Pleasure, Mr. Faraday. Tell you what, if you take a load off here and watch these things, I'll holler out for that food cart. I'll be back with some dinner and a little get to know you.
Sounds like a deal.
Well, all right then. and he'll like give like one of those fancy Frenchman bows, as in like, well, here's all the finery of this cart, and he'll like make his way out of the booth and continue down on heading to seek out Sykes.
All right, he'll kind of like lounge about, take out one of his rolled cigarettes and put down the window. Kind of like take a puff and then ash it out the window.
Yeah, you pull down the window, kind of as Welch, like he leaves, he shuts the door, kind of the sliding door behind him. And kind of you pull down this window, try to let a little bit of fresh air in, and the force of the wind actually rips your hat off and slams it against the wall behind you. You are traveling much faster than you thought you were.
Oh shit! And he like tries to grab it as it's like flying around the room, like those dollar tornado machines. And then he realizes he should just close the window, and his hat floats harmlessly to the ground. His cigarette's blown out as well. He just sighs to himself. He doesn't take the train very often, so he feels pretty foolish. Puts a cigarette away and waits patiently.
Yeah, the tobacco from your cigarette, it was like plastered against the wall when you like open this window, just flew all out of the wrappings. And as you kind of like close the window, it kind of falls to the seat behind you, and you're kind of just like sighing. And you look up and you realize that it wasn't just your mind. Like you haven't just not traveled a lot. This train is going incredibly fast.
He like squints his eyes and looks out the window at the passing scenery.
Yeah, just like a sagebrush, like in these tumbleweeds, just whip past you as you're going. You see that it almost like the landscape is just flying by, and as you're staring out the window, kind of just like confused, trying to figure out, what is happening, what is going on. You blink and your eyes open, and you see that the ground everywhere in the distance is black. It's still ground. It still looks like ground, but the plants and the earth are all black. And in the sky above you, it looks as if it's like just nothing but sun, but it doesn't hurt your eyes to look at it. And it's not blinding. The light that comes down is like a hazy gray. And as you look up at the sun, you're kind of just confused, like staring at it, and you blink again, it's all normal.
What in the hell? I should lay off the peyote. Shit. Is it moving like at a normal pace at this point?
No, it is still moving blisteringly fast.
He'd lean out the sliding door of the cart. Hey, Welch, is the train supposed to be moving this fast?
Powers higher than me operate such things, Mr. Faraday. Couldn't rightly tell. Seems to be going plenty quick enough for me. Something worrying you?
Yeah, it seems a little faster than I remember. Might have just been a while.
Modern technology.
Yeah, he seems kind of like somebody who doesn't fly very often.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, all the bumping and rocking makes him scream. They're like, "Are we gonna crash? Are we gonna crash?" Yeah, you're kind of standing there in the booth, kind of just confused, like okay, I mean, I guess whatever. And you see the cart kind of coming back from the opposite direction, from the back end of the train, moving towards you. You see that there's like an assortment of food on there, just like the appetizers essentially, and then they'll take your entree order. But this attendant, this bellhop, or whoever it is, this employee person, kind of like approaches you, pushing this cart, and he stops in front of you after dealing with the booth behind you. What would you like to eat, sir?
Yeah, I'll get bar of chocolate, and I got some stew back there from the kitchen. Get some of that as well.
Yeah, yes, of course, stew. And he kind of like pulls out like this like a note, and he kind of writes. You see him write 7-3, and he writes, like stew, hot chocolate, like some other things. And then the door opens again behind him, and this is Carson and Reverend kind of coming back in. You see that the food cart is like there right in front of your door, and it kind of looks back at you and looks at the cart. This is like the only booth that's not completely full. Is this your booth, gentlemen?
Yes, it is. Just in time, actually.
Of course. What would you like to order?
What do you recommend? I'm not used to kind of look around at the trains. This quality.
The steak is quite fine, I must say.
Just kind of nod with like a slight smirk coming across his face. That'll do just fine then.
And he kind of just nods, and you see him. He writes it out. Takes your, like if you want to medium rare, whatever, your cut, and then he kind of looks over at you expectantly, Reverend.
Yeah, Reverend John says, puts his hand like this, and he says, a bit on my mind. He says, I'll eat later. I think I need to. And he puts his hand to his head and says, I think I need to just rest up a little. And he goes by the side of the window and he just sits down. And he says, looks towards Arlo and Carson, who he just went past. He says, have you seen Welsh?
Yeah, he went that away, trying to find the cart, but I guess it beat him here.
Says if you don't mind, I'm just gonna get some shut eye. He says, and he puts his hat over the front of his head, and he just like.
Carson will like sit in the booth next to you. And he'll kind of put out a hand. Carson, by the way.
Faraday. No, I just found my spot. It's been a while since I've taken a train. I don't know how you could sleep on these things. Moving pretty fast.
And even as you say that, it seems very much to you, I'm guessing, to everybody actually, that he's gone, like really, like sleeping, like this.
Hell, then, he went out like a light.
Tyler, so what happens, if I can just quickly just say, is what happens is he closes his eyes, just hoping that he's going to get some time actually here, and just a moment, a bit of time. And what he does is, as he closes his eyes, everything is, of course, is like totally dark, and he like sinks deep down inside within himself. And then there's like 5 almost like bonfires, like torchlight bonfires that are circulated, that burn. And in the center is Reverend John, and he's like kneeling down, and he's just like praying fervently praying, and as he sinks down closer towards Reverend John, almost like this like glowing this light of like, it sort of like goes between purple and yellow, and it goes through several colors within this glow. He says to Reverend John, "You're a good man, Reverend John. I'm sure soon you'll be free. You'll be fine," he says. And then these fires just sort of kind of go out as he brings himself higher up. And then he comes out of his body. And what he's going to do is he's going to be moving at 15. He wants to go through the carriage and just like really just like see what is going on. He's got like an hour to make his way back, and he wants just like as much as possible just like just check out the place itself.
The booth, Arno and Carson becomes disturbingly cold. It's almost as if somebody turned on like one of those huge movie fans that used to simulate hurricanes, like just turned it onto the room and just is pouring cold air into it. Like you see your breath start to like fog, and the window gets like crackly with ice. And it's very weird. But then just as soon as it happens, it's gone at the same time.
Carson will like kind of look back and forth towards the others to like see that they like react as well, and assuming that he sees Arno respond similarly with this kind of sudden rush of cold, he'll just kind of like look over towards the window as like the fog has already begun to dissipate from the now changed back to temperature, and he'll just kind of like look over towards Arno and just kind of raise an eyebrow. What was that?
Hell if I know. All
Wasn't
kinds of
just
crazy
me.
shit's happening.
Yeah. It's not just starting now either. Everyone seems to be in a daze. I kind of like shake his head as if he himself is kind of uh, his own brain is kind of trying to work through mud, as it were. I don't know.
Should we wake him up?
Just went to sleep like 10 seconds ago. Let's give him some rest. I don't know.
I don't know. When weird shit happens, usually I like to be awake for it. But you know him better than I do.
Not really. Just by a couple hours.
Carson, suddenly, without warning, your stomach like hurts. Like really, really bad. It feels like you've been stabbed in the gut. And as you clutch your stomach, you're kind of just like, oh, like feeling your stomach, and you cough. You put your hand in your mouth, you cough, and there's blood on your hand. A lot of it. And you cough again, and it sprays all over Faraday's face. But he doesn't react, Faraday. You just see him coughing. But you cough, and it sprays all over Faraday. And it just starts dribbling out of your mouth, and you feel it kind of start coming down your nose, too, and out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah, I'll just like instinctively like begin like look down, like almost like go to like clutch at my stomach, and then that's like when I start like coughing blood, I'll like reach up like instinctively like grab at my face, and I pull away and see just like my hands covered in blood. My face will like turn into like from confusion to horror as I see that, and then like see the blood all over Faraday. And like there's not even any words that come to him. It just kind of that panic attack begins to set in, like hyperventilation starts, like his movements begin to become more frantic. As he just like looks down in horror.
Yeah, Faraday, you see him start freaking out. He's coughing. He's like clutching at his stomach and his mouth. But like there's nothing happening. Like you just see him start freaking out for no reason. Like start hyperventilating.
Are you claustrophobic, friend? Need me to get somebody? He just like look at him like, I just met this guy and now he's freaking out. Just kind of looking at him.
I'll like look up with this like look of like just incredulousness on my face. Like, how is that your response to the situation? Like, he doesn't even find words to say. He just kind of like looks up, just like confused. Like, how is that possibly the response that I'm getting right now? And he's just gonna kind of continue to like look down at his hands and back up at you, just like shock kind of taken over. Like instinctively kind of like patting down at himself, leaving like to him like prints of blood down his jacket, even on his badge. And so just like clutch for anything that might make this stop.
We're gonna switch perspectives briefly to our spirit friend right now, who's kind of just outside the carriage. You see, as you kind of exit, the cold kind of goes away, Reverend. But you see something standing directly behind Carson, putting a hand on his back. And that's when he starts to cough and clutch at his stomach and like freak out. He's losing his mind. And this is what you see. This figure, very smartly dressed, this kind of almost fedora looking hat, He's kind of has a cigar held in one hand. He's kind of putting a hand on his back, kind of patting and smiling. And then he looks up at you. Ah, one from the above. Did not expect one of yours to be visiting us down here.
Down here.
And he looks out at the landscape. Do you not see the landscape around you? You should be staying where you've been assigned, my friend.
How did we get here?
And he takes his hand off of Carson's back, and Carson, the pain goes away immediately. That is a secret I do not care to divulge. And he kind of gives you a wink. And he leans forward. Even the dead may die. And he disappears.
I return I can only do it once. I return immediately. I return immediately to my body.
Okay. You climb back into your body as this figure disappears at the blink of an eye. And that is where we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Go to the bathroom, get a drink, do what you need to. We'll be right back.
This is crazy, man.
Some spooky shit.
This is I'm having fun screwing with you guys right now. It's like I feel like I'm telling like a meta story at the same time. Like the flashbacks are telling their own story at the same time as I'm telling this one. And that's exactly what I kind of wanted to try doing. So you will understand in time, my Padawans. How you guys feeling so far?
Good.
Good.
Dan, welcome, my
I
friend.
made it.
You made it. We're so happy to have you here, my buddy. My good old pal. You will understand shortly. You've missed out on some of the foreshadowing stuff that's already happened, but it'll make sense by the end.
It's cool. I like playing the clueless innocent.
You're
It's
our
like, oh no.
you're our in media race character that's joining right as everything is starting to really hit the fan.
You just walk in like, what's going on here? Oh no.
I couldn't find my booth.
Oh, this seems like a good spot. Lucky number 7.
Your character reminds me of the cow from Emperor Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove. Can I go home now?
Love the accent, man. Really cool. I was thinking before, it's like, oh, I want to do an accent. And I was practicing it, and I was like, there's no fucking way, man.
Dude, it's surprisingly tough to do and like actually make it work without feeling like you're trying to replicate something and you know everyone's gonna know that. Because the Western accent is just so tropey. Like it's just like to do it right. Like Dan's doing a pretty good job for sure. But like to do it right, like you have to like have a certain level of confidence in your ability to use the accent for sure.
It has to be subtle. Like more subtle than
Exactly.
you think, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you can really force. I've been running this setting for like the past like year and a half, and I still am not very good at it. So I try to steer clear of it.
Like I could talk like this, and that's more like Tennessee.
Yeah, that would be like a Southern Providencer. They would talk with that much flair to their Western accent. Is that recent? Is Nico back too?
Yeah,
I think that's recent. Okay, cool. All right. Let's go ahead and do character and channel intros here. Plug whatever you want to. If you want to plug a channel, if you want to plug a product, whatever. We'll start with Dan. Go ahead and introduce your character. Plug what you want to, and then just pass it on to the next person.
All right. I'm Dan. I'm playing Arno Faraday, an outlaw who long ago has switched to bounty hunting, but a bit of his past always is trying to bite him in the ass, basically. I don't have any plugs, but Tyler's channel is awesome. And that's all I got. I'm going to pass it on.
GIF. I caught you right in the middle of a bite. I'll pass it on to Ian real quickly.
Yeah, my name's Ian. Nothing to plug. I'm playing Reverend John Walker. Basically, he was a devout a preacher who was who's been possessed basically by a good spirit from the above. So.
Okay, now Jeff.
Hey, not eating this time. Yep, I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Encounterbalance. If you want to check out my games there. I also do a podcast with Jeremy Lilly and Chad Nick called The Dudes of Yore, which has its own channel as well. So give those a look if you so desire. Yeah, I'm playing Carson Hart. He is a peacekeeper, which is basically a sheriff in training, kind of the deputy level lawman, with ambitions to take higher position, and apparently seems that he had been offered such a position that he was planning on accepting. And we'll see what happens. He's just been subject to a pretty unfortunate event, so we'll see what happens with that now.
And Nico.
Hi. I'd recommend anything that any of these gentlemen are involved in. And I'm playing Gilbert Welch, who's a bounty hunter who's laying low after killing the wrong man. And he's taken the last ride. And his target, the true target, Eram Sykes, and the point of his redemption is tantalizingly close. And I think that and his recently unleashed repressed immoralities have made him blinkered from more present threats around him as the train rolls on.
And as always, if you're watching this, is on my channel, On a Roll, ROE, like roleplay. I'm Tyler Hurst, the Dungeon Master. And this is my setting of Providence. I am enjoying running this game. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying watching. And one thing that I'll plug is a very cool product came out 2 days ago or 3 days ago from Absolute Tabletop. It's called Shadows of a Drift Chapel. If you're looking for a very awesome, streamlined game to run, it acts as both a module and a setting book. So if you're looking for something awesome like that to run, I highly recommend going to check it out. I don't know how much it is, but it's on absolutetabletop.com. And it's great. It's a colonial Lovecraftian flintlock inspired setting that is sure to be awesome for you. So go check it out. Okay, let's go ahead and get right back into this then. Welsh, you are making your way forward on the train, moving towards your quarry. You step around people moving busily back and forth through the train, some eating dinners in their booths, others still gambling the day away. The sun is kind of sinking low in the sky. And you see that there are the employees, these, bellhops and the various attendants and the people who work on this train are kind of, very calmly going about their business. They would kind of, in a weird way, it almost feels like they're always watching everything you're doing. But at the same time, that's kind of their job to make sure you don't cause any problems. And why wouldn't they be watching you? So maybe you've just chalked up to paranoia. But they are kind of, you get the sense that they are much more aware than they look like as they watch this train. And you finally step back into the car where you saw your quarry, where you saw, oh my gosh, yeah, Dyke. I remember his last name, but I can't remember his first name because I am literally terrible with names. I can barely remember my own sometimes. Aram. Yeah, Aram, where you saw Aram playing this game. And as you step back in, you see that he's still sitting there. Ko has left, the man who was trying to steal from him. But he's still sitting with this gentleman and his wife, and they're still chatting. And you see that it looks as if they're on their like fourth or fifth decanter of alcohol. They are heavily inebriated.
Good. Welch will approach them, give an easy smile to the lady, and then look to Sykes. Excuse me, friend. And he'll kind of, without asking, ask forgiveness for intruding on their revelry.
No problem at all, sir. Sit down.
Yeah, I think I might know where you remember me from. And he'll mention that city that Sykes had passed through. You ever go through that? And he'll mention the city. I worked there a time.
Harmony. New Harmony.
Yeah. I was there a while back.
Yeah, I
don't remember
I
you.
lived there.
That must be it.
Yes, I live there.
Well, happens me and a few fellas are fixing for some dinner soon. Care to join us, Harmony?
Yeah, I'm sure. And he kind of looks into these two people he's been drinking with. If you'll excuse me, and he stands up, and I never caught your name, sir. The name's Gideon Davis.
Gil. and he'll smile. Forgive me, ma'am, for taking this gentleman from yours. I'll have him returned in one piece, and he'll like smile at them politely and fall in with Gideon.
Yeah, Gideon kind of walks alongside you. You see that he's not actually even using the wall like to steady himself. Like he seems to be able to walk perfectly, even though the train sways occasionally. Even though it appears to be moving incredibly fast, he walks fine, and he kind of follows you back along, the path towards your car. And you realize at the start that whiskey that you had earlier, those 5 shots, still haven't hit you. You're not drunk.
Once we're out of earshot of that previous cart, I'll say to him, "Oh well, Gideon, these fellas aren't high society or nothing too fancy. But if you wanted to see to yourself before dinner, well, I'd oblige you the time, sir." And you'll like look to him. It's in his state, I guess, if he's been like drinking and gambling for the last hour or so.
He says, "No, I think I'm fine." And he looks down. You see he's wearing like a very nice kind of like waistcoat. His trousers are finely pressed. They look in well order. His boots even look nice. He'd kind of like look at you and look down. And kind of like smell his breath. I think I'm okay.
Well, I'll walk with you. It's not too far until like you walk with the men carefully down the carriages back towards lucky number 7.
He just nods and kind of moves along with you, following you in between, down the cars and in between cars. As you're kind of moving back, you would see that one of the attendants is kind of staring directly at the two of you, kind of like his head like cocked to the side and frowning. Kind of just shrugs and moves on. But as you kind of continue on your way back, you would get looks from people. I mean, it's not weird that you like are obviously traveling together or that you are together at all. But for some reason, they keep like kind of like looking at the two of you for weird, like as if you are out of place somehow.
Trying to keep his eye on the prize. Welch fails when we reach like the door to lucky number 7, and he'll turn from it and go up to one of like the bellboy or porter, whoever it is, and grab him by the collar and say, "What's your problem?"
Nothing, sir. I'm sorry. I did not mean to stare.
You take a good long look at me, so it's the last one you need to take, and he'll like bring the man's chin up to his own face.
Yeah, and he would like look at you, stare at you. Roll me perception.
From 6 inches away, a natural 1.
A natural? Are you kidding me? Okay.
5 total.
You pull him up to your face, and you look at him, and he looks at you, and you see. No, that was a trick of the light. It was nothing. For a second, you thought you saw something there in his eyes, but no, it was nothing, and his eyes looked normal. But for a second, no, you talked yourself out of it. It was nothing. And the boy, this bellboy, kind of like looks at you and quickly like looks away, just not wanting to see you. Obviously
Someone
uncomfortable.
paying you to watch me, kid?
No, I'm sorry, sir. It was rude of me. I should not have looked.
Take your bullshit to some other cart, and I'll like roughly like heave him away from this one.
Yeah, and you'd grab this piece of luggage that he was carrying and kind of like hurry and scamper away.
Apologies, Gideon. Service these days, the further away you get down the line, the cheaper the quality. Damn kid. And he'll like turn and like press the front of his vest and like go to make his way to lucky number 7.
Yeah, Gideon seems frightened by the violence, or Aram in your mind, seems frightened by the violence. He's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. Not what you'd expect from a robber or an outlaw of any kind, or somebody who had a bounty on his head, was known for violence. he is confused and like kind of like backs away from you.
Inwardly, he'll think, "Shrewd Sykes, you bastard, to act so coy and innocent. But I know you're a blood-soaked bastard." And so he'll just kind of act convivial to the man and be like, "Oh, apologies, it's such vulgar behavior. You have no fear of me being a gentleman and all, Mr. Gideon."
Yes, of course. Yes. This is your booth, right? And he looks at 3.
Yeah, if it's hour 1, I'll nod and say, "Yeah, just here. I can smell the cornbread now."
And he nods and like kind of pulls open the sliding door and like looks inside and sees the 3 of you. Ian, you startle awake as kind of spirit reconnects. As you step into the room, Welsh, you see that kind of Carson is kind of bent over, like looking, his eyes wild and afraid. He's clutching his stomach in his mouth, looking confused, like trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And Arno, you look up and you see this man come into the room, and you know him. You know him. His name's Gideon Davis. You met him in New Harmony a long time ago. Actually, pretty recently. Now that you think about it, or was it recently? And suddenly, disclaimer: we're doing like flashback things for people to kind of add and explain stuff. You're standing on a dark street, and you're piss drunk, and you're making your way towards the end of town where your inn is, where you've kind of set up for the night. And you're kind of stumbling, using the walls to support yourself, kind of walking along this boardwalk on the side of the street. Roll me a perception check.
10.
You hear something like a scuffle in the dirt or the scrape of a boot, but you turn around and look and there's nothing there. So you kind of frown to yourself and just shake your head and continue walking. The moon is very high, very full moon tonight, beautiful in the sky. And you think to yourself, this is the one last natural thing in the sky these days. With the sun having turned black and everything being strange and all of the talk of weird occurrences happening, I mean, the moon has stayed constant. As you make your way towards the far end of town, you hear that scuffle behind you, and you turn to look, and you're not sure, but it might have been a shadow that moved into an alley, one of the alleys between these buildings. You don't know for sure. What do you do?
Fucking dogs. Leave me alone. And he continues walking, but keeping an ear and an eye out behind him.
Yeah, you stumble along on your merry way, continuing, and it feels, I mean, especially because you're drunk right now, it feels like it's taking longer to get there than it should, when in actuality, you're just moving slower and zigzagging on the boardwalk. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, but like a cool wind kind of picks up, tossing the dirt through the air, kind of skittering it across the ground. Spraying dirt into your face. You kind of like rub it out of your eyes, and as you kind of like take a moment like to like lean against one of these kind of rails that stop you from falling over, you hear that scuff behind you again, and you turn around. This time you know for sure it wasn't a dog. It's a shadow standing on 2 legs, somebody, and you're not sure if your inebriated mind made it up or if you actually saw what you think you saw.
You're not as sneaky as you think. Come on out here. He turns and faces where he heard the noise.
Yeah, you turn and you face where you heard the noise. You face this alleyway where you saw the person move in. And roll me perception.
14.
Suddenly there's a scuffle behind you. You're facing the other way. You thought the scuffle was directly behind you before. You turn around, and there's a man standing there who's walking towards you. You see the light catching a glint of a knife, a Bowie knife in his hand, this big, thick blade as he moves towards you.
Don't do anything stupid, and I won't do anything unkind.
You hear another scuffle behind you as you've turned around. And as you look over your shoulder, a thinner man is walking behind you too. He's got another Bowie knife in his hand. The two are closing in on either side.
Yeah, he's drunk, but he would always have his revolver on him.
Yeah, you fumble at your belt, you pull it free, and as you kind of raise it to fire, we come back into the room. This man before you, Gideon Davis, you see him. He's looking at you, confused. Arno Faraday.
Yeah, been a while.
Been forever. I haven't seen you in what, 10, 11 years?
Things have a habit of moving fast around here.
What are you up to? Last I saw, you were down on your luck. You look good.
Yeah, some things don't change. You wink at him. I've been here, been there. Luck changed? How about yourself?
Same old, just running banking, carrying parcels from city to city. I mean, I can't believe it. You kind of just disappeared on us.
Yep. Finished the job and moved on. Ain't nothing personal.
Well, it's good to see you. And he looks back at you, Welch. Do you two know each other?
No, just met, he says, and he, inside his mind, reeling like, how the fuck does this stranger bumpkin know Sykes? And is Faraday a criminal? So he gives kind of like maybe like a less than kind glance Faraday's way for gesturing the man to come in, and he like points to the Reverend and says, "This is the preacher, Reverend John," and that's probably where he stops noticing, because there's blood on Carson's face, right?
Nope, it's not there. Only Carson was seeing it.
Oh, okay, my bad. In that case, then he'd just be like, and this is Deputy Carson.
Reverend, as you're kind of coming back into your body, you know that bonfire, those bonfires surrounding the Reverend. When you kind of come back to this area, you know, like to re-center yourself, to kind of re-enter this body, the Reverend's gone. It's an empty circle of fire. You can see the imprint, strangely, in the shadow where he was kneeling, in the darkness where he was kneeling, but the Reverend is gone.
Okay, the first thing that goes through his mind, it's not even like thinking about it, it's involuntarily goes through his mind, is that he's been taken to the above, but how that would be possible without me releasing him, I don't understand that. And I enter back as my eyes open up, seeing the rest of those in the room. And he thinks to himself, as he reaches down for his bag and opens it, he thinks to himself, I can't speak to them. They can't understand, you know. And he's thinking, are we in the other? Are we in the below realm? And he takes out another one of these clips, and he starts to change his revolver from the ordinary bullets to the silver ones with inscriptions. As he's doing that, he says. He also takes out the Bible and puts it on the side, and he says out loud as he's doing this thing, he says, some say there's an eternal war. And then he quotes a scripture from the Bible saying, if you hold to my teachings, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now let's see. How did I get here? And he's not minding anyone. He's speaking just clearly. He says, how did I get here? I don't know. Where am I heading to now? I don't know. I'm having strange visions, blood. Am I the only person having strange visions? And he looks up to the rest of the group.
Gideon's confused as to why scriptures are being quoted at him, and he kind of like frowns. And then he looks over at you, Faraday.
I'll put a hand to Gideon and get him to sit down so that my back is to the door, and I'll slide it closed and not answer the Reverend.
Arno would just like look on confused. He's not used to you said it was like a talking fire, basically?
No, that was inside of the Reverend's mind.
Oh.
Sorry.
So he woke up and
yeah, he woke up. He came out of being like the spirit thing.
Okay. I was confused. It's like, and he's gone and now there's a fire here. I'm like, oh. Alright, got it. That was a quick nap. You do that weird trance thing that the natives do sometimes?
He studies you and he looks to the rest. And then he takes out another clip and he puts it beside the Bible, which is next to where Carson is. As the same way he sort of offered a drink and smoke and to them before. And he sort of just looks at you, looks at Carson, and he looks at Welsh. And then he just like just looks forward again, and then he says the same thing. He says, "We shouldn't be here." Now let's see. Now, how did we get here? Where are we going?
Deputy, if you'll oblige me. Welch will reach into his pocket slowly and pull out a folded piece of paper and hand it over. When he if the man takes it, he'll put his hand down to his side, readying his hand around a Bowie knife.
Carson will at first he's kind of like looking around the room, like how is everybody just talking casually when I'm like actually dying? And then like he looks down and like none of that's happening anymore. And like the confusion will kind of heighten on his face and he'll shake his head, but then he'll like kind of be distracted by the Reverend's words and then the gesture of Welch. He'll just kind of shake the event from his mind for the time being, reach up, take the folded paper, and kind of in one hand put his thumb up between the middle of it to unfold it and hold it in front of himself.
Yeah, it's a bounty writ for one Aram Sykes, armed robber and murderer. He's robbed stagecoaches and murdered drivers. He's been wanted for some time, and his image is there. And when you like pull the page down from your visage, you see Gideon and that same visage, I guess, before you. I'll say that's why I'm here, and that's where I came from, to get him.
Deputy, roll me an investigation check.
Yes, sir. And if I guess just an out of character protocol thing. So in this sort of event, just because I'm not super familiar with the in-depth stuff for Providence, like suppose I am in this situation and there's this like known criminal. What would be typical protocol? Would it be to like try to kill him? Would it be to try to like apprehend him and take him in for somewhere else, or
try and arrest him alive? Unless he
I'm
does,
trying to
unless
take
he
the bounty. I'm handing it to the law.
Yeah, so try and arrest him alive. But if he offers like deadly resistance, like violent resistance with a gun, then you can kill him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to hand this dude up.
So I'm actually going to use one of my class abilities. I took the Scout archetype, which basically gives me superiority dice, but for some skills. So I'm gonna roll one of those real quick. Ooh, nice. So that is going to be 17 investigation.
Yeah, you look at this picture, this crude, this drawing essentially that's been mass printed and produced to be placed everywhere. And you look up at Gideon, and they could be twins, but they are not the same person. As you're looking at him, a hole sprouts in his forehead, and blood starts to drip down his forehead as a bullet rolls out and falls to the ground. And he's just looking at you. He doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't seem to notice any of this. All of you in the car see this, though.
I think at that, Welch will pull out his knife and grab Gideon by the collar and say, "What the fuck, Sykes?"
And he looks at you and like falls back against the couch, this like kind of bench he's sitting on. Whoa, calm down. Whoa, who's Sykes? My name is Gideon Davis.
Is that the kind of shit you're talking about, Reverend? He'll say to Sykes.
And even as you say that, facing Sykes, I mean, the Reverend's got his revolver pointed directly in his head as he's bracing against the wall.
And then Welch, from this man's pocket, the pocket watch tumbles, falling to the floor.
Admit it, I'll say through clenched teeth to Sykes. Admit it.
I'm not, I don't know who you're talking about.
He'll bring his dagger up and then go to bring it down on the man, but stop. And it's like shaking in his hand, and he looks slowly to Carson.
Gideon pisses himself.
Yeah, as Carson like sees the knife go up, he goes to like stand up to stop, and then sees you stop. He's like, whoa, let's slow down here. We don't need anything crazy to happen just yet. Clearly there's some confusion or deception happening, and I'm not sure which. Let's hold back on the knives and the guns until we can sort this all out. We have voices, we can use them.
And once you look back at Gideon, you see that the bullet hole is gone, and the blood is gone too.
So clearly there's some
strangeness.
To say clearly there's some strangeness happening. Someone thinks people are other people, or people are lying, saying they're things they're not. That's a kind of like gesture for Gideon to like come sit in the car. Let's talk this out.
Is there anything recognizable about this about Gideon to the Reverend in any way at all? And that includes the bullet hole in his head, because going back to the past flashback that he had when he had those two identical people inside the room, his plan was to line them up. I mean, he's talking to them as he moves to the side to line them up and shoot directly through the head at such close range that with the sniper rifle that he had, it would have gone for both. Was there there's no correlation with that at all?
No, he seems just like a normal guy. I mean, he's losing his mind right now. He's kind of just gibbering in his seat. Like he's sitting there like mumbling, like trying to like get you to take the knife away, to pull the guns away. You smell the stench of urine in the air. You see that he has soaked himself. Like he is utterly terrified. He does not know what is happening.
If I pull this guy up so that our noses nearly touch, could I think possibly that this is the man I accidentally shot in the door of the bank?
You can. And as you pull him up,
I drop the knife and reel back.
Yep.
And like
you reel back.
Welch so far, he's like scared and like he's crying.
As soon as the Reverend sees that, he just like really clocks his revolver and just aiming just a surer hand.
And Gideon like falls to his knees, like burying his head in his hands, like he doesn't know what's going on. He is literally clueless. there are these people threatening him, saying he's a criminal. He doesn't think he's a criminal, but he's terrified.
Welch is just like seeing this through a haze montage of this man's family grieving his death, and like stumbles towards him, drops to his knees. Carson could be forgiven for thinking that like Welch is going to knife or gut this guy, but he doesn't draw the other bow. He just grabs the man's hands in his own dirty ones with a fingerless glove, and like crying down into his beard and mumbling through corn teeth, says, I'm sorry, I killed you. And then he'll turn to Carson, teary-eyed, I killed him.
Welsh.
And
oh, sorry, go ahead. Do your response first, Jeff.
I was just gonna say, Carson would just like look at Welsh like, what are you talking? Like, and he's just like, you killed him. What are you talking? And just like, the guy's right there, he's alive, and now Carson's saying, and Welch is saying that he killed him, and it's just like he doesn't know what to make of it.
Welch will like reach down and pull out his revolver, but like butt facing, not barrel facing, and put it into Gideon's hands and like place the barrel up to his forehead, like mumbling that he's sorry and that like this is purgatory, and like that he wants to leave and that he's sorry.
Welsh, as you're putting the gun into his hands, second flashback, you're standing on a wooden raised platform as a noose is lowered around your neck. You feel them tighten it and constrict it around your throat. And the sheriff stands before you.
Get it right, Big Belly. I don't want to dance up there like a fool for you and the boys.
Gilbert Welch, you are hereby charged with murder of the highest degree of offense.
He'll spit down into the sand and try and eye the folk.
He kind of just like frowns. May the gods have mercy upon your soul. And you look over his shoulder and you see at the front of the crowd that's kind of gathered to watch this macabre event, a woman and two children who are crying openly. And you know who they are. They're Gideon's family. They met you in the jail cell to see if you were worth forgiving, but you couldn't forgive yourself, so you played it up. And you're doing so now to give them peace of mind. And they look at you. They're crying, and the sheriff just shakes his head. Hang him. And you hear that as the trapdoor falls away below you. And true to his word, you feel nothing, your neck. But you feel it slowly tighten first. Everything seems to happen as slow as possible. And suddenly you're back in the carriage, and your throat feels tight. You feel the burn around your throat as it constricts. You feel the rope burning into your flesh as it tightens around your throat, and your neck starts to crick to the side. And you're scrabbling on the floor for breath. And then
if he can speak, he probably just drops to his knees.
Reverend says, we are not in the between. We're not in Providence as we know. This is another place.
Yeah, Carson's just like looking down at the chaos that's unfolded. Like this man who was just so aggressive towards this person, now on his knees weeping, asking for him to be shot himself by this person. And then thinking back on all the strange things that have happened, he'll make eye contact with the Reverend. What's happening? This is not the only thing that's and he's just kind of like shaking his head, like he'll like grab at the bridge of his nose in confusion, trying to like reconcile what's happening. What do you mean?
He says, there is an eternal war, and somehow we've traveled from where we would call Providence to another realm through this train. And he looks to Arlo. He says, think back. How did we really get here? If it's the same for me, I'm sure it's the same for you all, he says, and looks down at Walsh, who's on his knees.
Yeah, he's looking down, just like squinting with his teeth clenched, and then he looks out the window.
The ground is black again and the sky is light. But now you can see something in the distance. If you crane your neck, if you stand up and approach the window and lean against it, you see the train is moving towards a huge mountain, a black pillar in the distance, essentially, and heading straight for it. Suddenly, a phantom pain tears into your back and into your stomach. It feels, and you look down and you watch in horror as a line of red is traced from your gut all the way up to your heart and to the side.
Oof.
Blood is pouring, and you watch as the cut comes back down and cuts to the side, almost like seppuku, cutting your gut open, and you see your intestines fall out.
He just like unleashes just like an animalistic shriek and just like goes to his knees.
And suddenly you're back on that boardwalk. You pull the revolver. Roll me a luck die, D8.
Eight.
Your drunken hands fumble, but they find the hammer. They cock it back, and you manage to get a shot off. You knock the thinner man down, falling, making him fall to the ground. He screams in pain, clutching at his shoulder. But a knife takes you in the back, and another hand hits the gun out of your arm, out of your hand. You fall to your knees as this pain lances into your back. You feel it come up your back, and a hand reaches around, guts you, pulls it up to your heart, down and over. And your guts spill out on the floor in front of you on the boardwalk. And a voice whispers in your ear, Arno Faraday, I've collected your bounty. And then you're back on the train.
Am I still like splayed out all over the floor right now?
Yeah, you're on your knees, but the blood isn't there anymore. Your guts aren't there. The pain is phantom but receding.
He's just like 1,000-yard stare, and then like he blinks back, looks around. Oh hell, I'm dead.
We're all dead.
The Reverend thinks of the fires that he had seen and Reverend John disappearing from there. And he says, perhaps you're right.
Yeah, Carson will like put a hand down onto the kneeling Welsh and take the revolver that he had been pressing into the chest of Gideon, butt first, out of his hand if he'll allow it, and like set it down, and just kind of shake his head. Dead? Like he doesn't even know what to say. Like he just mutters the word as if it's a reply.
I killed this man. I killed him because I thought he was Sykes. And they hanged me for it. And he looks at like that 1,000-yard death stare that that Faraday's given the black sun or the pillar. I said, he's a dead man. And he looks at the other, at you and the Reverend. You men are dead too.
Carson, as he says this, you're standing back out on the porch again, looking at the bottles, the revolver in your hand, and you just fire. You take another one out. You haven't missed a shot out of the past 15 shots you've made. This revolver feels holy. It feels like something that Ezekiel the Lawbringer, the first sheriff, the first governor of Providence, this is a gun that he would have wielded. And it's beautiful. You've never felt like your aim has been better, like your aim has been steadier. And as you fire another shot, taking out another bottle, 0 for 16. Or I guess 16 for 16, my bad. You see that Jack is just smiling there, nodding. It's a good gun. And he kind of steps back into the bar and kind of comes back out with the whiskey. and the two glasses and sits down, and he refills yours, he refills his, and he offers it to you, taking a sip from his own. And I'm still stuck in this hellhole.
Yeah, Carson takes the gun up and kind of admires it for a second, pulls back the hammer on the gun, goes to hold it out to aim another shot at another bottle, and then kind of shrugs for a moment, puts the gun, hammer still cocked, down at his side for a second, and grabs a drink from Jack, and just kind of gives him an earnest shrug, like he feels bad for this success being taken from this man who deserves it, but he deserves it too, and only one person can get it. So it's this kind of pride and sympathy mixed together of knowing that if both of them could have it, that would be justice. But there's no such thing in this scenario, and he'll just have to hope that the justice he can bring later on will make up for the injustice done to Jack in his position being robbed. And in sympathy and in celebration combined, he'll raise the glass and then drink.
Yeah, you both throw back, and he is kind of just like looking down at his feet. And you see his hand is trembling.
Well, now's not the time to get choked up about it. He'll
Yeah,
say.
yeah. You know, I look up to you, Carson. You're a good man. You're a good peacekeeper. You've always done what's right. You've always done what you could to lead an honest life and, to make sure justice was dispensed.
Hey, come on. You'll get what's coming for you too. We all get our chance. Mine just came a little sooner.
Roll me perception.
I'm going to use another one of my already die. That is 18.
Yeah, you hear him barely. He inaudibly whispers almost. I don't know if I want what's coming from me, Carson.
The genuine sympathy will kind of turn into a twist of confusion.
You feel pain in your stomach. And he looks up at you and says, yeah, I'm sorry.
There's a sinking feeling in his heart, in his soul, as he looks down, feels the pain wash over, and then back up towards Jack.
And blood dribbles out of your mouth, and you cough, and it's all over the floor. I had to make it look like you had consumption, or else other people would pin it on me. This is gonna hurt, Carson. I'm sorry, but I can't stay here any longer. I can't be caught up in this, and the pain is lancing through your body now, like spider spear tendrils of web just tracing through you.
With his left hand will clutch down at his gut, and then up at his mouth, wiping blood down his chin and onto his shirt. And he'll just look incredulously at Jack, and arm shaking from pain and from most likely nerve damage from poison, I'm guessing. He's gonna try to bring up the still cocked pistol towards Jack. He goes to say something, some remark, some quip, but the words don't come. Instead, just as more blood spatters out.
Okay, go ahead and make me an attack on him at disadvantage as you're within 5 feet of him.
And poisoned.
And poisoned, yeah, that would.
Yeah, that's just an 8. I think it's the shot doesn't even go off, I think is what it is. It's he goes to pull, but his arm is already too weak from the poison. And his finger just kind of slides weakly at the trigger. And even so finely made weapon as it is, with no man to pull it, a bullet cannot hit when it's not fired.
And as you're lying there, blood kind of dripping out of your mouth, you cough raggedly. This kind of what this is going to look like. It's going to look like you died from the consumption. This disease that tears your lungs apart, and makes you cough blood until you're just dead. And he kind of kneels down next to you and takes the gun out of your hand and looks at it. I'll tell them that you knew you didn't have much time left. You covered it up real well. You'll be a hero, Carson. You'll be a good, respected, remembered man. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry.
Even as the words fall onto him from this person, it's like speaking to a corpse. Like there's so much that he wants to say, so much that he wishes that he could say in response to this person. So many questions, so many responses, but there's nothing left in him to push words out. It's just the empty space that was his voice ripped from him as his body is like ravaged by the poison. He can't even bring himself to speak, to respond, only to lie there, disappointed and dying.
And he would reach forward and close your eyes for you. I can't have you staring at me like that, man. And he'd stand up to his feet, to his full height, looking down at you, and you'd hear his steps on the gravel as he walks away, taking your pistol and your job. You stand in the doorway into that room, looking in at the two identical men, Reverend. And they both look at you in surprise and raise their hands.
He says, as he starts to circle them, he says, so where's the other that just left?
And at the exact same time, they both say, he left, we don't know why.
Okay, he says. And as I said before, it was what he's going to try, even if it doesn't work. He's going to talk as he tries to line them up, right? And he says, it's unfortunate, the work that I do. You see, as one of you know, I'm a bounty hunter, of course, but I hunt other things, he says. And sometimes there's those that die that shouldn't. But what is at stake here is very high. He says, you understand?
One of them just starts to babble. Please, it's not me. I don't want to die. The other one looks at him and then looks back at you. No, it's not me. I don't want to die.
Is there any way that I think I can shoot both of them?
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting in chairs parallel to each other.
Absolutely. So by the time he's finished saying that, he just shoots directly through the head of one into the next.
And the one directly in front of you collapses in a spray of gore. And the one directly opposite you takes the bullet between the forehead, looks at you in surprise as the smoke sizzles out from the silver. And before your very eyes, his body changes, becoming more wolf-like, more feral, more animalistic, furry and terrible and monstrous at the same time. His mouth elongates, kind of becoming almost ape-like with these sharpened teeth inside of it, and his face becomes kind of leathery.
Even
And he kind of
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even while he's transforming into this thing, the rifle is dropped, the revolver's taken out as I backpedal, just like completely empty, and just the bullets.
Yeah, his body shakes. It's like, oh my gosh, what is that movie? Where they shoot him like like somebody's on the top of the roof, and and then he falls off the roof. It's like that, like the scene out of an old Western. Where
Every
he kinda
movie,
just, like, falls, yeah, every Western movie, where he falls backwards in the chair and kind of like hits the ground, slumping against the wall, kind of looking at you. And your mind immediately clicks. Rougarou. You know what this monster is. Rougarou.
Okay.
You've hunted one of these before. Shapeshifters, terrible creatures, monsters that persuade the mind of men and change into them, can read minds. And as you're standing there realizing what this is, realizing what this monster is, you realize, you remember, wait, there are two of them. And directly across from you in the window, you see a figure level a revolver at your forehead and shoot you. And everything goes black. As blood drips down your face from the bullet hole into your eyes, along your cheek and off your chin. And you fall to your knees and die. Roll me spiritism as you come to.
$14.
You've been thinking about this all wrong, you realize as you come to. There are stories. The passing is what it's called. The passing that every spirit goes through. And you look out the window and you see that it looks fine and normal, but in the sky above you, the sun is not black. And you know that this is all a fabrication. And as your mind clicks, you see things around you as they should be. The train is not luxurious. The drink you brought back with you from the bar, this bottle of whiskey, is actually the cheapest of grog. This nasty tarantula spit that no one would drink. And the world outside is a black landscape with the sun above. And then it clicks in your head again. What was this train called? The Betweener. You know you're traveling the tracks of life right now. And if you don't get off, then you're going to the below.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. It's
The door to the car snaps open, and an attendant leans in. Is everything okay in here? And you see him now too for how he is. He is not a bellhop. He is not a conductor or an attendant or anything. He is one of the broken.
That's the problem. Okay, so the rest of my comrades as well, they're still there. The rest of the, I see Welsh, I see Carson, I see Arlo, or not?
Yeah, they're all in the car with you.
Absolutely. He aims his loaded revolver, taking from on top of the Bible the extra clip in his left hand, and he says to everyone, "Trust me, if you wish to live. We need to get off this train now, right now."
That's enough for Welch. He's going to grab the attendant by the collar and drive a Bowie knife up into his Adam's apple.
Ooh. Yeah, the attendant is responding. He's like, nobody gets off the train. Go ahead and make me an attack at advantage. You've surprised him.
Oh, surprise! I've got Rogue Assassin. So.
Ooh, him.
Oh, fuck my life. 12 to hit with advantage.
Oh, that is not going to hit. The attendant moves blindingly quickly. His hand comes up, snaps your hand up into the ceiling. The bowie knife sticking there, and he's gonna throat punch you. 15 to hit. That hit you?
Oh, I surprised him. So shall we roll initiative?
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and roll initiative, guys. Your goal is to get off the train now.
Now I'm rolling really poorly. I rolled early, like really. I rolled a crit first roll, and I rolled some good die, but now it's coming back to haunt me.
9, 18. Okay, so we're gonna have going first, Arno, 18, pendant. Oh. No, 18, pendant, 16. Wait, what's your plus to dexterity, Carson?
3.
Okay, he's got +4, so he goes first. Carson, 16. Rev, 14. Pendant, 12. 10. And very last, Welch. Hey, in a flurry of movement, an explosion, you try to stab him. He brings his hand up, shoves your bowie knife into the ceiling, blocking it, and then he sneers at you. Shouldn't have done that. Arno, your turn.
Oh, hell. Couldn't arrest. What happened? Whatever happened to rest in peace? And he'd pull his revolver, aim for his head, and shoot twice. Okay, what do we got here? +7. So 15 on the first one. And then a 19 on the second one.
Both hit. His AC is 15.
All right, he whips out his white silver revolver and hits him twice. Heavy revolver. First one is 12, and the second one is 17.
You're using normal bullets, right?
Yeah, those two are normal.
Yeah, the bullet is one rips into his forehead. You see his head snap back, and the other one kind of takes him in the shoulder. And he kind of stumbles backwards, and he looks at you, and you see the bullet is only halfway protruding from his forehead. And he kind of grunts, like, and just this angry glare kind of just like covers his face. And he kind of reaches up and plucks the bullet out and throws it onto the ground. You see a little bit of blood, this black blood trickle down his face. And he steps forward, and he's going to make 3 attacks on Welch.
I don't think regular bullets are going to do the job, Phyllis.
Welch, he moves forward with all the grace and all the poise of a martial master, attacking you 3 times. 19, 25, and 11. I'm guessing only 2 of those hit, probably. Okay, first hit is going to do 6 points of damage to you. Second hit is going to do 7 points of damage to you. 13 points total. He throat punches you and then brings another 1 punch into your gut, sending you sprawling backward. This guy is strong.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, the wind goes out of Welch. He drops to his knees after the punch, and he's like, "Oh."
Okay, Carson.
Yeah, Carson's going to like see this like sudden explosion of activity. One moment, you know, we're all here wondering what's happening. The next moment, knives are being tossed and bullets are being shot. He like takes a moment to kind of snap into to gear to figure out what's happening. But once he realizes that this thing is a threat and that we need to fight, he will pull out his revolver of his own. And I will go ahead and action surge so I can get 2 shots.
Yeah, and I would have said that the bullets don't seem to be working.
Well, bullets are all I got, so. Oh shit, that's a crit.
Ooh, baby. Well, if you have the special rules pulled up, you can use the crit table we made up. But if not, you can just do roll dice, add modifier, and double. and that would be how much damage you do.
I don't have it off the top of my head, so I will just do damage for now.
Okay.
So, and the other attack, the first attack is a modified 20. Will that hit as well?
Modified 20 hits, yes.
All right, so that one is going to be for 12 damage as the first shot.
And how much
hits
was the
into
first
it.
one for?
That was the first one. I'm rolling the second one right now. I don't have many.
You only did 12? What'd you roll?
6
Or is that
3.
12 halved? Oh,
No?
yeah, so
Oh.
6 plus 3 plus your modifier doubled because it's a crit.
That's not the crit. That wasn't the crit.
Okay.
That was the
okay.
first shot, yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I'm rolling the crit now. But that's not full out, so that's 9, 18. Is the modifier double too?
Yep.
So 24 for the crit.
Okay. Where do you hit him
Just
with this
one
crit?
shot.
What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think the like the first shot like catches him up in the shoulder, his left shoulder, kind of like sending him slightly back, but not too much, considering the bullet's still not even fully entered. And as he goes to like say or do something, the next shot comes up. He kind of like almost half stumbles, but keeping aim up at this thing as it goes to speak or make any noise, and he's gonna like shoot the bullet like up into the back of its like mouth and into the back of its throat, up through the back of its neck. You're muted.
The bullet passes through its mouth, hits the window directly behind it, and the window breaks. Howling wind fills this car that you guys are in, this box car, or I guess passenger car. And everything around you is just chaos now. You see that the train is moving incredibly quickly, like faster than you've ever seen a train move. And now it's starting to rock because it's moving too quickly. Everyone else seems calm. They don't even notice, like in the other cars. But this car is shaking now. So at the beginning of people's turns, they're going to have to make dex saves to stay on their feet. Okay. Are you doing anything else? Are you moving, or are you just standing now, like trying to keep your balance?
Yeah, I'll kind of like stumble back a couple steps so that like my back is kind of against what used to be the window. Just trying to keep a corner position to make sure that nothing else comes from around the door. But I won't do anything else.
Okay, yeah, perfect. You stumble back, kind of putting yourself against the wall, aiming at this thing, daring it to come at you, basically. And Reverend, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm just thinking, flashing through my head, which is the best way out, which is either through the window or going through. But what he does is he has a gunfighter stance, which is a bonus to. So I would probably be able to do two things. So instead, would it be possible for me, as Walsh goes down on his knees, and Arno just finishes saying like silver bullets, and Carlson just like unloads on him, that he shoots. I want to just like shoot this thing with my silver bullets, which I've just put in, which I had put in when I was sitting down. And I want to, instead of doing two actions, meaning shooting twice, I'd like to throw the cartridge which I'd taken from on top of the Bible to Arno, if that's possible. If it's not, it's not. Do you understand? So he's gonna like
yeah. You could toss him like a quick load, basically, of silver bullets. Because I mean, you guys are using 6-shooters, so you don't really use cartridges. But you could toss him. You could toss him like a handful of silver bullets. Like, hey, use these.
What he gets. Yeah, absolutely. He does that as he shoots. He does 17, and oh, great, super. And that is
silver bullets do an additional D6 damage to these things.
Okay, so 2, 4. He does 2. He does 5. Additional.
Yeah, so you'll add an additional D6 of the silver to damage.
Got it. It's 5. He does 6 points of damage as he just like shoots just underneath his lung. Just
wait, 6 points. What kind of revolver are you using?
A light revolver.
So you'll do 2d4 plus a d6 plus your modifier.
But my modifier for my dex or my strength?
Dex.
Right. He doesn't have the preacher does. He's got 10. 10.
Okay, cool. All right, that makes sense then.
Yeah, absolutely.
D4s don't do much damage. So okay, so 6 points of damage. This bullet, you see as it enters this thing's body, that it smokes and sizzles, and you see that this actually seems to hurt it. It like screams, like ah, and like grabs at its gut where you shot it.
Absolutely. So shit. Yeah, again, just in his mind, he's just thinking window or
Yeah, and it doesn't help that you guys are in the middle of the car too. There's five booths in the car. You guys are number 3, so you guys are directly in the middle. So you either could go, you could try to go out a window, or you could try to make it to either end of the carriage. It's up to you guys, but it's shaking violently now.
Yeah, fuck it.
So
if he can move, he goes through the carriage. He's gonna go for it. He's gonna run through.
You're gonna try and slip past the attendant,
if it's possible.
Yeah, the attendant will try and kick you to trip you up. That's gonna be a 15 to hit. Does it hit you?
Solid. He trips me good. He trips me good.
Okay. So make your dex save now at the end of your turn at disadvantage to try and stay standing.
Disadvantage. That was so 5.
Yeah, he basically cobbles you. What they used to do to miners so they couldn't run away. Slave miners, break their kneecaps. So he kneecaps you in the side of the leg, just trips you onto the ground. You just slam hard, landing and sliding. You're going to take 2 points of bludgeoning damage. You slam into the wall because you tried to run past him. And he's going to just start laughing, this weird maniacal laugh. As he kind of leans forward and starts coming to attack you guys again. Okay, the door at the far end of the carriage slams open. Another attendant is standing there. And he looks at the commotion. He sees this other attendant like bleeding from his gut and like all these bullet wounds. And he starts running towards you guys. He's not going to make it this turn. He's going to almost get there. And then another attendant is responding, but you can't see him yet. Welch, your turn. You've just been winded and throat punched by this guy.
I'm going to disengage from my rogue action and use my movement to get to the loco-facing door of the carriage and move past the oncomer and get to where the train carriages are connected. I'm going to do an athletics check or something to pull the peg out to disconnect us from the rest of the train and fuck those guys.
Nice. Okay. So you disengage the one and starts sprinting past the other.
Yep.
So he's going to try and trip you too because you're not disengaged.
I use disengage and then
move. That's right. They can't make opportunity on you with disengage.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So you sprint past this guy, ducking around him. He tries to he bear hug you. Like he reaches for you. You kind of just slip under him. Aided a little bit by the rocking train. And you kind of stumble past him, reaching this area. These 2 connectors with the pin between them. So you're gonna have to pull the pin out, pull the lever back, and then unhook the 2. So it's gonna be like a 3-part process. So to pull the pin, I'll let you use a bonus action because it's not gonna be that hard. Just pulling the pin out. But I'm gonna need an athletics check. Yeah, and I'm gonna need an athletics check from you to pull the lever back.
Okay. So a bonus action on my next turn, essentially, because I've already expended everything else that I can do.
Okay.
So my athletics check will be a 19.
Okay, yeah, you grunt against it, but you pull this lever back, and it kind of pulls back. And you can see the 2 connectors now. Now you just need to separate them, which will be on your next turn.
Yep. And I'll stay right where I'll stay right where I am.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of kneeling down, reaching into this gap, trying to pull it. Arno.
All right. So he's trying to disengage us from the locomotive, basically. So we don't.
Yeah, basically.
Don't. Okay.
From carriage 6, right? Essentially 7 to 6. I'm trying to make a break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, he would see what the plan is here. Does it look like he needs somebody to keep these things off of him? Is there somebody near him?
One of them, he ran past and dodged one of them, but the other one's looking over his shoulder now, seeing him do this. So you could try and stop that guy, I guess.
I'll shout over the din of the and the howling wind and the black fucking sun.
Yeah, as the wind's whipping even harder, and he catches the silver, looks down the shine through the grime. Silver. and he'd take this this bone and silver hatchet that was mostly just like a conversation piece, but now he realizes it could be a potent weapon. He takes it out. It looks like it hasn't been sharpened in ages, but it takes on new life, it seems, around these creatures in this otherworldly realm. And he's going to go for the one that seems like it's going to go after Welch. So he's going to try to take a hatchet to him.
Okay, so you're gonna have to dodge around the one that's standing in the doorway. So you're gonna be at risk of getting knocked over.
Do I have anything for that? Can I? Nah, that'd be a bad idea. I wouldn't throw it. Yeah, he'll take the opportunity attack. He'll try to dodge past him.
Okay. It's gonna miss. It kind of extends its leg, like trying to do the same thing to you that it did to your friend, the Reverend. But you've seen this before. You've seen what it's gonna do, and as it kind of moves to kind of like kneecap you, you stop, so it kicks the wall instead, and you just kind of jump over its leg, moving towards this one. You're past it.
Gangway, fuck brain, and he'd hop up and hatchet this guy in the back of the head as he's distracted, hopefully. And does grit work with melee weapons or just?
I would say so. I'd say that's fine.
All right, cool. So the first one is 16. Second one is 21. I'm going to use a dazing shot on the first one.
Okay.
So that's going to be a grit. He has to make a con save.
Okay. Obi nat ones. You got him.
All right. So he has disadvantage on attacks until the next turn.
Okay.
Until the end of his next turn, I guess.
And you're within melee range of him now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the attendant you left behind, standing in the doorway, is going to kind of like grunt angrily and charge into the room at Carson and Rev are the only two in there. No, Carson and Rev are the only two in there now. And charge with two of you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How much damage do I roll?
You're using a hatchet?
Yeah. It's a silver hatchet.
Yeah, hatchets are the same. So you'll do a D6 plus a D6 because it's silvered. And then your modifier.
Okay. 3, 5 plus 4. 12.
Okay. Yeah, he screams in pain as you bring this down on the back of his shoulder, and he's just like, "Ah!" And he kind of like reaches like.
Sorry.
Oh, you get 2 attacks? Go ahead.
Gunslinger, right?
Yeah.
That's a level 5 fighter.
Yep.
And then 5 to 7, so that's 11. 11 on the second one. Oh, level 3. So just one attack. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so he screams, like grabbing at his shoulders. You bring it down on his back. He's like, "Ah!" And he kind of like falls to a knee, like looking, like turning and looking at you. There's malice. There's anger in his eyes. The first attendant in the doorway is going to charge into the room. Yeah, Dan brought an Uzi. He charges into the room at you, Rev, and Carson. And he's going to pick you up, Carson, and slam you against the wall. So give me a grapple check. Oh, no. He's going to slam you against the window.
There is no window.
Oh, yeah, the window.
broke.
Oh. He's going to pick you up first. Let's see if he picks you up.
Alrighty.
Ooh, that's a 22 for him, or grapple.
All right. I'm going to use one of my superiority die, my scout dice, to give me bonus on athletics. And rate of God. That's a crit. That's a nat 20.
No way.
I swear to fucking God.
How
Oh, so
it's like it's like when
26.
it's like in the Western movies where there's the bar fight and like one slams him down on the table and they're like beating him up and then they flip him over and the other one's on the table. He slams you out the window. He's like dangling you out the window almost, like pushing you up against it, forcing your head out. And he's kind of like breaks this chunk of glass out and he's like about to like try and stab you with it. and you kind of like dodge it and like turn him over. So now he's leaning at the window. So he's like screaming in anger, and he's going to try and punch you in the gut because he has 1 attack left. And that'll hit. And that's 7 points of damage. So as he like clocks you across the face, like trying to get you to let go. And that'll be his turn. Carson, your turn.
Yeah, as Carson like flips over so that now he's kind of got this thing more or less against the wall. He's gonna take the punch, kind of grunting as it smashes him. But he's going to see the opportunity and hope if he could slip this thing's grasp once, that maybe he can do it again. He's going to like bring the gun up to like feign a shot, but he'll like purposely fire like up to the right to try to distract this thing, and then like with everything he's got, like tackle into it and try to knock it out the window.
Okay, give me a contested strength check. So either your athletics, if you want to, or you can use acrobatics, whatever you're best with.
Athletics is just fine, and that's a lot. 26.
26. What's your strength modifier?
Fuck, are you kidding me? +2. But my athletics is +5.
Or wait, what did you use? You use
athletics.
Dexterity?
Yeah.
So what's your dex modifier?
Athletics. 3.
Okay. Yeah, so you charge at him, trying to slam him out this window, shove him out, and he leans back, kind of like putting his shoulders on the outside of the train, and he's going to kick you in the stomach and push you away from him because his strength is higher. So he shoves you away back against the wall, so neither of you do anything to each other, basically. Anything else from you?
In the current state, if I try to move, will he get an opportunity attack against me?
No, because he kicked you back away from him.
Okay. Seeing this thing kind of leaned up against the wall, I'm going to use my movement then to run out of our booth and into the car proper, and position myself at the choke point between the outside of the car where Welch is working. Basically putting myself in that doorway. So if the other one wants to try to run at him, it'll have to get through me first.
Okay.
Basically just plain blocker for him.
Okay, Carson and Arno, I forgot to make you guys make dex saves, so make them right now because you do them at the end of your turn. Because the train is rocking wildly now, especially since the hitch is taken off.
Yep, I did roll. That's an 18.
Okay, you're fine, Arno.
16.
Okay, you guys are both fine. All right. Okay, Rev, you are left in the room with this attendant who watches as Carson runs out of the room, and his gaze just slowly rotates and turns towards you. You're the one that shot him with silver. He remembers you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what he does is, and he's looking pretty okay.
He's bloodied. He's bloodied at this point.
He's bloodied. I get to my feet, aiming at his head, and he shoots. 17. Straight 17.
That hits. Give me damage. 2d4 plus a d6.
Got it. So just 4. Hold on one second. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
Yeah. The bullet, I mean, the train rocks wildly as you go to take your shot. So you still hit him. It's just not in the head. It just clips him in the gut. You see it bury into his skin. And it's the same, this pungent black, like ichor. It's almost like oil kind of dripping out of his body. And he kind of like is trying desperately to keep it in. You see him kind of cough, and like some of it comes out of his mouth. He's very bloodied at this point. He's
Absolutely.
very hurt.
Yeah, and what he does after that shot, as this is the carriage is like rocking, he goes out the door and like sprints in the direction of uses his movement to sprint in the direction of the rest of the group.
Okay, as you move in that direction, kind of running past this one attendant who's occupied with basically 2 people on him. He's not going to try an opportunity attack you just because he's too busy. Roll me a dex save though as the train bucks again.
That's 15.
You barely manage to stay standing as this train rocks. Like it's almost like when you go over like a bump on your car, that brief moment of weightlessness. It's like that. Your feet come out beneath you, but you manage to land again as you kind of lurch.
Absolutely, just like smashes against the side, and just like.
Yeah, it's like a game of space pinballs. You bounce off the wall, kind of keep trying to run, and you're kind of like running past this attendant who's like barely trying to keep his feet too. The attendant who's kind of being accosted right now by both Carson and Welch is going to kind of like turn and run past you, like run away. So you guys are both going to get opportunity. So go ahead and make me opportunity attacks.
I'm gonna be a bum and say I don't have a weapon in my hand. So
wait, not Welch. Sorry, because you're kneeling over the thing. So Carson and Arno. My bad.
I was gonna say.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. I go to shoot, but the train bucks right then, and my arm is sent up flying. 2 on the die. There's no way.
I got a Chris.
No way.
He says that one-liner.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, give me your damage. 2d6 plus your modifier.
All right. 6, 1, 7. So he has a 3 now. So 10.
10. Okay. Yeah, you clip him on the back as he tries to run, and he's gonna sprint. He's like, ugh, and he kind of runs past, like away from you, barreling towards Welch. Welch, give me a contested grapple at disadvantage because you can't see this coming.
Ooh.
Does the crit do anything extra?
I mean, I can't really give him double disadvantage because he has disadvantage on attacks already from your dazing strike.
Oh, so it doesn't. Okay, so it doesn't do extra damage.
Oh no, wait, you critted. It's 2d6 plus your modifier doubled. Is how much damage
so
you do.
20. It's 20.
Okay, 20 points. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. I see what you're asking now. So what'd you get, Welch?
That's pretty good still. 18 total is my lowest. Oh no, this is not a deck save, it's athletics, so that'll be 17 on the lowest.
Okay. He with disadvantage got a 21. So he's gonna hit you like a train from behind, taking you off your feet as he tackles you. He carries you over the divide and slams you into the wall on the other side. So like the trains are connected here. He carries you over the median onto the other train, slamming you against the wall.
So is he shoving me back 10 feet?
Yeah, he's gonna slam tackle you and go with you.
Yeah, there's probably like a wet thud, like as I'm like smacked into from behind. Maybe I hear like the gunshot like behind over the roaring wind, but I turn too late as this guy smashes into me and knocks me across the pegged connector and onto the rear of the carriage 6.
Yeah, and he just basically straddles you, like leaning back to start punching you on the next turn. Okay, the other attendant, you hear the door slide open at the far back of the car you're in, and the door opens, and you see the bar come like stepping out, and like the bartender, and he looks at all of you kind of there on the ground, and he has a shotgun in his hands. So, and he's gonna aim and try and shoot. Currently, Arno and Carson are standing right next to each other, so he's gonna try and shoot at the two of you. Okay, so 2 shots go off. That's a 22 and a 26.
Oh,
which are both gonna hit, I'm sure, on both of you.
Yeah, he's just caught flat-footed.
You both gonna take 16 points of damage as buckshot rips into your back, just tearing you apart, basically. As he shoots twice, unloading both barrels. You hear "toom" as he clicks it open, and the 2 cartridges come out, and he starts loading in 2 new ones. And he snaps it shut. So he's gonna be ready on the next turn. Welch, your turn. You're now lying on the ground, back against the wall, straddled by this attendant who is getting ready to beat the crap out of you.
I'm going to disengage and use my movement to go over to the peg and use my bonus action or my action to pull the peg out and then wave to the guy on the other side as the locomotive engine pulls his side of carriages away. And then I'll roll my deck save to not fall ingloriously onto the tracks and die from the bucking violence of the trains. I got a 10 on the die, so 15 for a deck save for me.
Oh, you needed a 15.
Oh, glorious. Well, if you can't make a deck save, you can't do anything, this bloke. And I'll stand there like holding the rail with one hand and the peg with the other while the other carriages get further away.
I almost imagine that, like, as you like buck, like you're like it's the same thing that weightlifters. Your feet come up and you barely grab the rail. You're like leaning out over the tracks. Yeah, so you barely keep your feeding as the one looks in shock as his part of the train that with the locomotive just shoots away.
And yeah, that's all I can do.
Okay, so one of the attendants is out of the fight now. Arno, you have 2 attendants left. One of them is bloody. The other one is carrying a shotgun.
All right. He's gonna he's gonna second wind, and then he's gonna attack the bloodied one.
Okay.
He's gonna use a grit to get advantage on this because he would have missed. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. 24.
Oof. Ow. Yeah, that's gonna hit.
5, 13.
Oh, 13 points. Yeah, that drops him. That kills him.
Nice. So, is he engaged with anybody else right now?
No, he's moving towards Rev. Like you see him stumble out the door trying to follow Rev, and then you just come flying at him, basically.
Hey, ugly. Come here. He just like chops him under the rib cage and wrenches out like some viscera, I guess, and then kicks him out a window.
What doesn't come viscera doesn't come out of his gut as you rip him open. Instead, it's like old rotten leaves and like loamy old like moldy soil that kind of just pours out of his gut. And he drips into the ground like shadow before you can kick him. As you kick him, he just disperses into shadow.
Yeah, he was like gonna go for the kick and just goes through nothing, like expecting a last step and no step being there.
Yeah, now I'm gonna give me your deck save.
All right. So what's my dex here? Don't have proficiency, so it's +3. 14.
Okay, as you overstep, like as you go to give this kick, and his body just fades away in front of you. It's like you're hitting nothing. It's like missing the last step in the darkness. Like you think there's an extra step, but there isn't. So you overstep, your foot going through, and your one leg buckles as the train pops, and you fall to your side, collapsing to the ground.
All right, can I use my? Actually, that guy has a shotgun, so he kind of like scrabble behind one of the chairs to try to get cover.
Yeah, you could like roll yourself into the room that this guy was just coming out of. That'd be fine. Okay. Attendant 16 is dead. Carson, your turn. There's a guy with a shotgun at the end of the hall.
Yeah. Carson is like very badly wounded now at this point. Like his bones are broken from being punched and tackled by these things, and now bleeding from buckshot from a shotgun strike. He's gonna like take a moment to like step behind, outside of the car over by Welch to like try to at least stop some of the bleeding, tighten himself up a little bit, second winding to gain back some health. And then, yeah, I'm going to, if there's a ladder, I'll use it. If there's not, I'll try to make an athletics to jump up. But I'm basically trying to get up onto the top of this train. If this guy shoots me again, I'm going to die.
Yeah, there's a little ladder.
Yeah, I'm going to use my movement then to climb up the ladder and onto the top of the train. And then I'm going to like lie down and grab onto some of the stuff to the roof of the train to try to like keep myself there, so that I don't get shot and killed.
Okay, yeah, you climb up to the top easily. Rev.
Is there any sort of cover here, possibly? If not, it doesn't matter. He realizes that the one with the shotgun is, yeah, and he's basically got 3 bullets. So what he does is, as his thing's like totally like rocking, he tries to brace himself as best as possible against the wall, as this like jumping up, and just try to like really steady his aim. And he does. That's a straight 13.
13 is gonna miss.
Yeah, he just like shoots up and to the side. And with his movement, he would like to, if there's somewhere that he can get cover, he will try and do that. Meaning, where Walsh and where Walsh was basically, is there like a thing to the side, or is it just like a really open?
It's like kind of like an open like area. Like there's 2 like kind of like barriers that come down on the side, 2 rails, and there's a little like a ladder that goes up onto the rooftop.
Okay, got it. So if I can do the movement, I'll sprint out, because I've seen that the deputies moved up that way. Depending on how much distance I can take, then he'll go for the ladder as well. If not,
okay, yeah, you run to the ladder. You can easily climb it too. You have enough movement to get up onto the rooftop. And that'll be it, I guess.
yeah,
Unless you have anything else, right? Okay. Attendant is going to, now that he's reloaded his shotgun, he's going to step forward. Kind of 2 people on the roof, Welsh is kind of around the corner. He turns to look at you, Arno, lying on the ground, and he's going to level the shotgun at you and just shoot you twice. Disadvantage because you're on the ground, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter. That's an 18. 13. Does that hit you?
13 misses.
Okay, so only 1 hit.
He just like moves up, so like I don't have any cover anyway.
Yeah, basically he just walks up and looks at you in the room lying on the floor.
It's like, oh shit, you got me.
Yeah, he hits you for 12. He unloads a slug this time. It's not a buckshot, a slug. 12 points of damage into your gut. Dex save for him. Ooh, the train bucks and throws him off his feet. He's on the ground now. And he has no movement to get up, so he's prone. Okay, Welch.
Welch stands into the doorway and says to that guy who just gunned down Mr. Faraday, "You got a problem with me, buddy? You've been eyeballing me all the way up this hallway." And he'll walk up to the guy and grab him by the collar, but rather than slip a bowie knife through his neck, he's going to grapple him because this guy's prone, so he'll have disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a 19.
That's a nat 1. Don't even roll. I got a nat 1.
24. Excellent. I'm going to drag him back the way I came and then use my bonus action as a rogue to move again and drag him out the door and drop him onto the tracks in front of the carriage, the way that our carriage is heading. So he'll go onto the tracks and then under our carriage.
Okay. That's epic. I love that. Yeah, you do it. He nat 1. He can't resist. You drag him out and you leave the shotgun behind him, scrabbling at it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's scrabbling to grab the shotgun, like trying to get it before you can pull him away. And you drag him to the edge of this car and just drop him off the edge and just like crunch.
And that's where I'll end my turn for the 3rd round out the front of this carriage because I have used all my movement.
Combat's over. You know there are other attendants on this train, and you know you have to get off. And you're surprised that the train does not look like it's stopping. There's so much momentum, and it's still traveling towards the mountain.
Is it slowing though, or is it still just like this?
It's slowing, but you don't know if it's going to stop before the mountain.
Yeah, we need to jump. He shouts over the wind. We need to jump.
Yeah, Welch nods, agreeing, and turns as if to do it, but then stops and looks back towards the lucky number 7 and knows that he can't leave without Gideon.
Ooh. Okay. All right. How do we
go, he'll say, go! And he'll make his way back away from his companions towards the
Okay.
The smash windowed cabin where fucking Gideon pissed himself.
So who's jumping?
Carson's going to like look down at the gun in his hand, like put it back in the holster, like look towards the Reverend, and just like he heard what the Reverend said. Like there's still that moment of like, oh no. He's just going to look and think back to like the Reverend and like the information that he's been able to give so far about where we've been, about what's happened, and hope beyond all hope that he's right about this too. And on the roof, as the cart is barreling, is going to, as best he can, pick himself up. I imagine he can only get like onto his hands and knees, and then like roll off the side, and like at the last moment, like push himself with his legs off the cart and hope.
Okay.
You were joined by the Reverend for sure.
So everybody explain how they're jumping then for me, and then we'll do Welsh's little scene trying to save Gideon.
Absolutely. Reverend sees Carson like getting to his knees and just like rolling to the side and just like kicking off, and just as the wind's just blowing, he also gets to his knees, and just like he pauses for just a moment, just knowing that this is one of the reasons why he's actually here, and this is just way over his head, and he just kicks off into the air.
Okay. Arno. The wind whips through that broken window if you wish to use the window, or you can run to the back of the train or front, whatever you want to do.
He definitely wouldn't go first. So when he sees them jump, like, what does he see?
You'd see them because the illusion's gone now. It's like a black landscape with the bright, like sunny, like nothing but sun sky above you. So like you can't see past the light, but it's just light above you. And you see them jump off the edge, and as they hit the blackness, they sink into it and just disappear.
Well, I guess this is my comeuppance, following after a man of faith. And he'd jump out the window after the Reverend.
Okay, you jump out, sliding through. The glass cuts your legs as you go through, but you make it out. Welsh, you stumble down this aisle, kind of sliding from side to side, zigzagging. As you reach the door, you see Gideon kind of like beneath the bench, just like crying, like he does not know what's happening.
Come on, Gideon, it's your stop. And he'll like walk up to the man, take with his left hand, take the gun off the seat, and with his right hand haul Gideon up to his feet, and over like the din of like the of the wheels and like the whooshing of the wind, he'll say sorry for a third time to Gideon before unceremoniously kicking him out the window to save his life.
Nice, I love it.
As Gideon, I imagine, is like holding onto his coat right as like Welch is trying to haul him out, and he kind of is a bit gruff with the man and like shakes his arm free, and he's like, "No, just you. You follow them. You find that Reverend. He'll lead you where you need to go. Me," and he'll like look back down the hallway to where the carriage is still hurtling and say, "I'm for the end of the line," and that's when he'll kick Gideon out the window, and he'll take that revolver and go back to the front of the carriage and go where he knows that he's supposed to go for what is done.
That's awesome. Yeah, you sit down. I almost imagine just cross-legged style, just looking at the cave as you approach it, the mountain.
Yeah, that'll take out that flash tribal tobacco pouch that I had that I shared with the boys at the start.
Smoke one last
Roll
cigarette.
myself a smoke as I'm heading to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, you stay on the train, looking at your your fate as it approaches you face on, and you see that there's this entrance to this large and looming maw, this cave at the base of the mountain, and as the train enters, it's just blackness. You are aware that you are somehow like, it's like you're aware, but you're unaware. You're unable to move or do anything. You're just a conscience. And then you hear the screams, and you look around and you see tormented souls, broken, shattered, beaten souls. And then the pain begins. outside in the real world, Reverend, you wake up and blood has pooled around you. It's dripping out of your face. I mean, not out of your face, out of your forehead, down your face. And you realize somehow, beyond all kin, you survived. The bullet wound to the forehead, the bullet that took you, it's cold in here, but you are alive somehow. And you remember where you were. You sit up and you see the old man and the Rougarou dead on the ground. And you know you're not done because there's one Rougarou out there somewhere still. What do you do?
Yeah, he gets to his feet, takes his hat, places it over his head, and as he makes his way out, knowing that there's one more to hunt, he takes a moment to think about those souls that he had come across, and that he's certain he won't come across again, but perhaps. And he's humbled. He's 210 years old in spirit, and his view has shifted with Providence's, for sure. I mean, after today's experience, and he continues back up the trail to where his horse is tied just over the ridge.
Arno, you wake up on a mortician's table. The mortician has stitched you back together and looks startled as you take a deep breath. Son, you shouldn't be alive.
Yep, I know. And he'd kind of like sit up. I got some business. Where are my clothes?
And he kind of just numbly points at a pile of blood-soaked rags in the corner.
Got any clean ones?
And he turns around and looks at this like pile of like clothing that's probably just like stuff that just comes in. It's like a lost and found.
Yep, that'll do. I don't expect to be back anytime soon. As he puts on new clothing and walks out the door.
Yeah, a deck of cards falls out of the pocket of these pants you put on, and as it falls open on the floor and cards spill out, the two cards that land face up, or the four cards, are black eights, two black eights, and two black aces, the dead man's hand.
Nice.
Carson, you wake up in complete darkness. You feel around you, and as you move, you feel there are these restraints on your hands and feet. They're like little like strings, and as you move, you hear the ding, 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 ding of a bell above you. And you realize you've been buried alive in a coffin, in a safety coffin. These are the coffins that they buried people in who may or may not have been dead from diseases. They weren't sure. It was just to be safe. And as you move, the bell rings above you, and you hear shouts and the scrape of shovels on dirt above you as they start to dig you out. The shovels get closer and closer until the coffin lid is pulled open, and the people looking down at you are just surprised. What do you do?
Yeah, there's this kind of moment of panic, and then as the sounds get closer and closer and closer, relief starts to set in. And as the like lid is cracked and the light pulls in, and the people like look incredulously at him, he'll look equally incredulously at himself, seeing that he's alive, and wonder how, but won't bother to care about why. Um, I think as he climbs out, we see like a scene further on down the road, um, farther up north, as a sheriff works away, filing paperwork at a desk. Crow's Gulch. The door will creak open, and we'll just like see the sheriff look up, and we'll hear, "Evening, sheriff," and then.
Yes.
I love it. And that is the end of our one shot. Thanks everybody for playing. Great game. Let's go ahead and end with final comments. We'll start with Dan. We'll end with Nico, and then I'll do our outro.
Yeah, that's how you end it. I love that shit. Thanks for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Great game. Good, great playing, great DMing. Fantastic, man. Loved it.
Jeff?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Really interesting to see a different side of Providence than the ones that I've seen. Especially since the last time that I played Providence. I played like a level like 18 cleric necromancer guy. So to see how the setting has changed, where stuff like that is not the norm anymore, and see it like build a lot more interesting flavor and kind of a more of that gritty Western vibe rather than the fantasy. It's been like a really super cool evolution to see. And I'm really excited to see what you do with it because it's a super great setting and you run it well.
Thanks, my dude. Nico?
Yeah, that was great, man. I loved the original idea. I loved the many twists. I loved the flashbacks. That was awesome. I got a real Buster Scruggs Carriage to Purgatory vibe from it. And yeah, that was exceptional. Really fun. I appreciate the time and plotting you must have put into that. And I'm hooked. It was good to play a bad dude.
Guys, that went great. I am so happy this is the cast I got for this game. It went fantastic. You guys killed it. Big round of applause for you guys. And I loved that. That was super fun. Thank you for playing. Thank you for joining in on this game and adding your unique and awesome flavors of roleplay to it. And if you like the game, anybody who tunes in to watch us later, feel free to like and subscribe. And for more Providence, that is, keep an eye out on the app tab. I'll be running more of this because this is my baby setting. So thanks for playing. Thanks for watching. And as always, I hope you find yourselves in your games on a roll.